What's your favorite food?
Ooh, oh, Jesus. Man.
Jesus is your favorite food?
Jesus is my favorite food.
He's the bread of life.
He is the bread of life.
Dance Journey! With Tracy in LA. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Dance Journey. Today we have Makia Chantel.
Hi. Hi.
I'm so excited. Like, I've been excited since this morning when I woke up to do Makia's podcast today because I feel like it's been a long time coming, even though actually we've only known each other for like 2 months.
Yeah, we met like literally right before Easter.
When I was like preparing for this, I was looking and I'm like, oh wait, I feel like I've known you a long time, but it's been short, but it's been like,
it's been a full short
like
time.
Condensed or something.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about how we met first. Makia is an amazing hip hop dancer, and it's crazy because, so we sort of met in a Christian hip hop class. It's called, it's an organization called Dancing Disciples. Mm-hmm. We didn't really meet, but we like took a class at the same time and like saw each other there.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to tell this story because like it just touches my heart.
Wait, what?
But like, so we took that class. I didn't really like think about you, or we didn't meet or anything. Yeah. But then cut to like some time after that, I'm rehearsing for this this show that I'm supposed to be in, this performance, and we had our first dress rehearsal one Saturday, and I haven't performed dance kind of ever in my life, like in a way where it was just about dance.
Oh, yeah.
So I had come back from, I told Makia this story, but like I had come back from that rehearsal to my house, and it was fine, but I felt like I didn't do well. Like, I was probably just being very self-critical. It was our first dress rehearsal. We still had, the pieces weren't even fully finished. It was like an early dress rehearsal, but the floor was kind of slippery. I didn't feel like I did a great job. I got back to my room and I just like cried. And I prayed to God. I was like, am I even supposed to be performing? I feel like I can't perform. I feel like I don't know how. I'd rather just take class. What am I doing with my life? Like, and also I've changed my whole life recently, and it kind of revolves around dance. And I was like, I can't even perform in front of people. What am I doing? And like a couple minutes after I was praying and crying, I get this Instagram message from Makia, who I didn't know who she was at first. Cool. And it was just like, hey, I'm putting together this like show for Easter, for an Easter service. Was wondering if you'd be interested. And it's like this long message about like all the details, like rehearsals, dates, and stuff like that. And I was just like, who is this person, you know? So then I'm like doing a deep dive on her Instagram. I did remember, like, I recognized you. I was like, oh yeah, I took like a class with her. And then I was like looking at her Instagram and I was like, oh, she is such a good dancer. I can't believe she like asked me if I wanted to do this. Oh my God. Then I was like, well, maybe she's just asking everybody, but that's still so nice, you know? And I really felt like God was speaking to me and was just like, oh, you're going to perform, girl. Like,
okay, yeah, you thought.
I felt like God.
Those thoughts are not my thoughts.
Yeah, I felt like God was just like, it's okay. Like, that was your first time. Like, you just started doing this. You know, it's okay. And I felt like God was telling me. I felt like when I was praying about that opportunity, because there were quite a few rehearsal dates, but you had said like, oh, if your schedule, like, if you can only make it to certain ones, it's fine. But I felt like when I prayed about it, that God was like, I want you to make this a priority. I want you to do it and make it a priority and go to everything. So
and that she did.
I did.
She was obedient. She was the only one, the main one. And that's okay because it was such a last minute thing. And I put a lot of rehearsals because I wanted to make it as available for anybody to show up when they could. Because I get it. Like, we're grown. Like, we got a lot going on. Last minute stuff happens. Just life happens. So I tried to make it as available and accessible for each person that God wanted there to be able to be there. But she was at everything. I was like, wait, whoa.
Okay. I had to like switch around a few things in my schedule too to make that happen, but I felt like God told me to make that happen, and I'm really glad I did because, I think it was just the first time I came to the first rehearsal. It ended up just being me, which wasn't even necessarily like the plan, but it was a cool story because, well, I don't know, do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, I mean, it was God because it was... it was last minute for me too. Like, and it's crazy because I knew I was going to do the Easter thing for a while, but life happened and it felt like it kept getting down and closer to the wire. Like it's coming up in just a few weeks. And it's like, I had nothing I had absolutely nothing. And then finally it was like, okay, Jesus, what are we doing? What am I doing? And I had been thinking about it in my head every now and then, but it just wasn't, nothing concrete was coming. And I finally sat down, and it was like, it was almost as if he knew, well, because he always knows, but
God knows.
It was just very understood that he was like, okay, now we're going to focus on this. It was like, I think he intentionally wasn't making that a priority in my mind just yet. Until that time, right? And it lined up perfectly because it was right after I went to the class. It was like, it was finally, I was like, okay, we're sitting down and we're talking about this. And then he just started putting people on my heart. And then you were one of them. And you were the first one, actually.
Really?
Yeah, you were the first one. And I was just like, she's so cute. I'm so in agreement.
God was like, he knew. He was like, this girl needs to get some encouragement right now.
Oh my gosh.
So.
And it's crazy because I actually knew I was going to hit you up before I hit you up.
Wow.
Like, I knew. I already knew. But I didn't just yet because I was still trying to get more information from the Lord and just kind of understand, like, the navigation of it all. So I was still plotting and planning and trying to just get clarity. And then it got to a point where I was like, I need to hit these people up. It's only like 2 weeks away. Like, it was like, I need to talk to these people. Jesus is like, yeah, girl, come on. And so, and yeah, you were the first person that I messaged. You were the first person that I messaged. And then even leading up, not knowing that that's what's happening in the background. So that's really crazy. You were actually, I think, maybe the first person I followed. I actually followed you after the class because I recognized you in the class.
Oh.
And this isn't like some like exclusive thing. I just have become more cautious, I guess, maybe, or particular about what and who I follow, because it's not so much about who it is, it's just about like what I'm taking in. So I'm just more particular. So I pray about like who I follow.
Okay.
And so like you were somebody that I followed. I chose to follow, and I looked at your page and I seen the car interviews and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. and I just felt like it was so precious. Like, I felt like when I looked at your page, I could feel like God's heart for you. And it was just like, oh my gosh, she is so precious. And this is so like, it was something about it just felt so humble. I was like, she's just doing this in her car. Like, what the heck? This is so cool. That's the coolest idea ever. Jesus, you're awesome. And then I watched you in class, and there is nothing more, I think, valuable than somebody who is not necessarily the best, right? But they are still fully invested and just trying their best.
Yeah.
And not worried about how they look. And that's what I got from you. Because my thing is, like, a performance lifestyle, that's where I come from, which I know we're going to do whatever. But that's exactly what God is, like, breaking off of me. And so when I see somebody just openly, like, not worrying about perfection, not worried about, and they're just going for it, it's so good. It's so rich. It's just like, I love that, because that to me is freedom. You know, that's like represents freedom, because before God, we aren't supposed to try to be perfect. And so when we're in the world, we're out here trying to be perfect and try to look good. And it's just like, that's totally the direct polar opposite of what God's intention is for us. We aren't made to be perfect. We're made to be with him.
Yeah.
And then just be fully ourselves and open and safe. And I felt that from you. And I was just like, I like that. And
that's
I want
so cool.
that.
I like that. That's been a journey for me too, because when I very first started try and dance every once in a while, and it was so long ago, I don't even remember what year it was, probably like 2012 or 2013 or something. And I was taking free classes at a church. Actually, it was once a week, and it was actually I'm trying to remember the woman's name, but it was actually a very advanced hip-hop class. But I didn't have money, and I wanted to take a dance class, and I'm like, this is all I can afford. I wish there was a beginner, but here we are. And I would go to that class, and I would usually only be able to pick up the first 8 counts. Maybe 2 8 counts.
I understand that.
And that was where I was at. And it was a little frustrating, but I still kept coming. But it would just go so fast, and I couldn't remember the choreography. And it was a packed room. It was kind of hard to see. But I came week after week, and then one day we would sometimes have these chats at the end, or like talk about the Bible or whatever, because it was at church.
Yeah.
And this woman leading it, she also taught at like Millennium and stuff. She was like a really good dancer. But she just randomly one week, like, pointed at me. Like, I don't even think I ever talked to her, like, one-on-one before. And she pointed at me and she was like, what I want to say to you is you need to stand in the front. And it was that just stuck with me. She was like, you need to stand in the front. And I never stood in the front. I always stood towards the back because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to be in the front. But
it's easier to hide.
I couldn't see, though. It was hard for me to see, and it was harder for me to pick it up. I mean, also for many other reasons, but also because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it stood out to me, and I ended up leaving LA shortly after that for a while and then coming back later. But when I started taking dance classes again, I don't know, God did something in my heart where he just gave me more courage, and I just was like, I need to be in the front because I need to see. Yeah. It's not about like,
I need to see.
It's not to be like, I have to be in the front of the video. Right. It was more just like, I have to be the front. I have to try. If I can't be, it's fine. But like, I need to put myself there to try to be able to see.
Yeah.
And just try my best and not worry that like I'm not getting it, but just really try to like really be invested. And I was only taking beginner classes for such a long time, and then God, I felt like he was pushing me like, try these other classes, push yourself more. And I'm now at a place where I'm doing this podcast and I'm literally telling people, any class you want to take, I'll take it with you. That was not me. Like, even a year and a half ago, I would be like, it has to have beginner in the title. It has to, like, and I push myself.
Wait a second.
And God has shown up and also showed me I could do things I didn't think I could do also. So the way people encourage you to when they see that you're trying and that you're growing and that you're maybe not as advanced as others, but people get excited about that.
Oh, it's exciting.
So it's been like fun to kind of find community in that too. So anyway, it's just interesting that you brought that up because it's not a place I've been in for a super long time either. So.
Well, that's a beautiful place, and it's clearly God led that you're in the place because it's kind of like, you take it to like a David and Goliath situation. He picks the unlikely. Yeah. He chooses the unlikely. So you can look at all these people and it's like, even like me and you, it's like we can think like the obvious pick would be me. But it's like, we look at that in the story and it's like, we look at David's brothers. Oh, they're tall. It must be you. It must be you. And it's like, you could look at me dance wise and say, it must be you. Yeah. And it's like, no. Jesus wants you.
Well, but Jesus also wants you. Yeah, yes.
Right. And it's like for a specific task, it's just like, nah, this is where Jesus, he wants to show out.
Right.
That it's like, it has nothing to do with your perception. Yeah. And your way of thinking, right? Yeah. His ways, his thoughts are higher. So, and he's so beyond us, and his glory at the end of the day is what he's after and what matters. Because then we can know for ourselves, like, the power of God. And that's what I think that you experience. It's like you said, I didn't know I could do this stuff. Yeah. I didn't know I would never, is a beginner in it? No, it's like, well, that is evidence and proof of the power of God in your life. And I think that is what I saw. And I felt that. And
hi, everyone. So I wanted to tell you about my new book, The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010. This is my very first memoir. There will be more. It's not like a normal memoir where you're looking back on your life and reflecting on it and writing a book about it. It's more like a memoir in real time. So basically, when I very first moved to LA to pursue acting, which was in 2009, I decided I was going to write these like monthly newsletters where I sent out actual letters in the actual mail to a bunch of my friends every month to give them updates on what I was doing with acting and jobs and friendships and all kinds of things that I was going through my very first time ever living in LA. It ended up being pretty humorous, and so I've basically gone back and edited them so that I could publish them as a book. So that's what this is, and yeah, if you want to be entertained and have a good laugh, buy my book, or if you just want to help me pay my rent next month. Oh, and you can get it on Amazon. The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010 by Tracy Nicole. Nicole is my middle name. Also, there's a link in my Instagram bio. You can get it paperback or on Kindle.
I mean, I am a redeemed adrenaline junkie, I like to say, because I went from like always seeking a high everywhere else to where experiencing the power of God, and now I'm just like a power junkie. It's like I just want to experience God's power all the time now, because it's like, because it is, it's and there's so many different ways to experience it. It's like, yeah, there's like those really like loud supernatural ways, but then there's also those quiet and private ways where it's just like you notice the subtle changes where it's like, I would have never did this before, you know. And it's and even right now, this is for me, because there was a point in my life where I couldn't even open up a social media app without shaking. And so it's like, there's gonna be so much good stuff to talk about. So we went off on such a tangent, which is great, I love it. But I went to the first rehearsal, and what was crazy is I remember you telling me that God, like, he wasn't giving you all the choreo. Yeah, no, I couldn't get anything, and it's crazy. I was like really trying to get it, and it just wasn't happening. And then I just finally sat down, and he gave me the full like overall picture, like the skeleton, like the blueprint of it. And then I'm listening to this song, and there was just this one part that was like, something was like sparking about it, and all I heard was Tracy, and I was like, okay. And then Tracy, I want Tracy to have a solo. And I was like, I agree. I am in agreement. That's cool. Let's do it. That's fun.
And then I was the only one at the first rehearsal. Yeah. And she was like, well, this works out great because the only part I have right now is your part. It
literally started flowing. And it flowed right when I got there. It didn't even flow out at home. Like, it was like, I just knew that. And then I got to the studio, and I think I was there maybe like 10 minutes before you. And I just was like, all right, what are we doing? And I couldn't figure it out. And then that same Tracy part was just there, and I was like, all right, let's do it. I guess that's all I got. And then it just poured out. Yeah. And then she was the only one that showed up. And I was like, Jesus, it's so real.
And it was like, that rehearsal, and actually like every rehearsal I've had, like, I can tell, I don't know Makia's full story. I hope we're going to hear most of it today. But I can tell you come from the very professional dance world. Even just the little way you ran the little rehearsal with just me, there was a little bit of like, I was a little intimidated. Not because of anything bad. Like, she's so nice.
I understand.
But it was just like, you're just very good and you are professional. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm over here. Like, I don't deserve this. I don't even know if I can do this. But hopefully, you know, and you don't even know my whole backstory. I mean, you know currently what I'm kind of look like as a dancer, but you don't know that I like haven't really performed like ever.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that was complete news to me.
So I'm like, I was kind of praying, because I was like, do I like share this stuff with her? But then I was like, you know what? I'm here. We're just rehearsing. What? She chose me to do this. Like, she can fire me if she wants. Like, I don't have to tell her my whole backstory.
Fire is so crazy.
I know, I'm just joking.
You can fire me if you want.
But like,
it's a job.
You know what I mean? It's just like, well, I'm here. I'm just going to try. If she sees I can't get it, then she's going to see that, you know? Yeah. So, but Makia's like such a good teacher. And so I felt like she did a great job of just like realizing, oh, okay, I need to kind of like drill this part more or whatever. And actually every class I've taken with her has been like that. And I think you're just a really good hip hop teacher, because hip hop hasn't been like my main focus in a while. And every time I take class with you, I'm like, I grew a lot. I just grew a lot. And like, I mean, like, well, the Easter dance wasn't like overly hip hoppy necessarily. It was kind of like a mix, which I loved. But yeah, that was just such a incredible experience. And at the end of that rehearsal that night, she did tell me we were like walking to our cars, and we ended up talking for so long.
I know. That was cool though.
I did end up sharing like more of my story, and then she ended up sharing like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about your podcast. And right away, like, it was like the first time we talked, she was like, I kind of like want to do your podcast because I want to like share stuff. And I was like, yes, please, you know, but like, so I guess
honored.
That's why it feels like it's been
get into your car
a while. my car studio. Yeah, so that was cool, and just like the whole experience. And then even just doing all those, well, Makia, we don't call them performances. It was an invitation. It was an Easter service, but so it was really just at the end, it ended up being, how many of us? 4? 5? Wait, I don't remember. Something like that.
5.
And it was...
4. was 4.
4, right?
It ended up ultimately being 4. And we started out with like 9.
I wasn't going to say that. But no, I mean, it was to have that, like, Makia didn't put any pressure on me, but just like I'm put pressure on myself. You know, that was just a new experience for me, even though it was just a church service or whatever. But still, it was like, I want to do this well, and I've spent all this time. And that was just, I learned about a lot of challenges I have with my own, like, learning how to stay hydrated, learning how to, like, me and even Makia, we were, the first night, we performed on a Saturday, or we invited on a Saturday night, and we were both like, I couldn't breathe, like, I was catching my breath, like, the whole drive home, because I don't know, it was just such a, like,
that
cardio piece, I guess.
My ribs were hurting.
We're just bouncing
Breathing
the whole time
hurt.
for like 4 minutes. I don't know. So it was, I had to think about the next day, like, okay, we have 3 of these in a row the next day, not right in a row, but like all morning. So I was like, okay, I need to be like sucking on cough drops, bringing water, like, because my mouth had gotten so dry in the dance. And it was so good also for me to learn that about myself before I had this other big show. I just think God just orchestrated all of that for a million different reasons.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I think was for us to connect and for us to get to work together. So that was really cool. So anyway, that was awesome. I've since taken more classes with Makia, kind of like pop-ups at this point. But something that I love about Makia's classes is we didn't take one right now, but I had one with her last Friday. And just like every time she does a class, it's always going to be exciting because she, as much as she doesn't want to focus on performing, I still told Makia, I really think your class is the most performative of like any class I've ever taken, because because she has a very like formation stage like mindset as far as like just a creative like a production creative mindset, but in a really cool way. So like she'll teach us the dance and you'll learn a lot and grow, but then she'll be like, okay, now I want these people to do this part. I mean, even last week, we didn't even know what was going on. Makia's like, we learned the dance, we practiced it a bunch, it was super fun, and then Makia's like, okay, I want you guys to go behind this like window that was in the studio and crouch behind the window and just put just your hands on the window with the beats. And like none of us like know like what is going on.
I didn't even tell them. I literally was just like, all right, come back here.
We're like, wait, because it was like during the part that we're like about to start dancing, but we're like behind this like thing on a window, and we're like, what is going on? But slowly the plan unfolds, you know? And she's like, well, then you're going to come out and start the dance. Then you're going to do it. Then you guys are going to freeze. And then these people, and then we're going to go into this formation. And that's been like really fun because I haven't had a lot of experience with formations, but wow, God has just like been like, we're going to talk about formations. I can't even tell you, like with the other performance I did in those formations, every Makia class, the Easter dances, I'm now helping choreograph for my friend's wedding, and I have to think about that. God's like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about performing or inviting or whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about formations. We're going to talk about production. I'm like, okay, God, here we are. So that was such a fun experience.
That's so cool.
Like so grateful, and I really think I just think you were hearing from God, because I don't think I'm the likely one, but God, that's what he wanted in that moment, and I felt that too, and it was really encouraging, and it was a challenge. Sometimes when God chooses you for something, it's exciting, and then you're like, I can't do this in my own strength. You're like, but that's when you know you need God, and I think God likes that. He's like, don't worry, I'm going to show up. I'm going to help you. Like with the first time we did it Saturday night, when I was towards the end and we were dancing in the audience, and I thought, I am going to die because I need water so bad. Like my whole mouth got so dry that I almost couldn't swallow, and I thought I was going to like die. And I was literally praying like, God, help me not to die. I know. I don't know if I told you how dramatic it was, but like...
No, but I am so dramatic. It's crazy because I was literally thinking the same. I like after the second part, like I was like, what have I done? Like I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. There's so much left. Like, and I was like, why would I do this to myself? I was literally same thing. I was like, Jesus, help.
I prayed for Jesus to help me, and he did, and I made it through. Mm-hmm. But like when you, at the end of the night, when you said that you were catching your breath the whole drive home, I was like, you know what? I needed that, because I was like, you know what? Makia's a professional, and she was catching her breath the whole way home. So there's nothing wrong with me, because that was me too.
That is so
And then
funny.
the next day she brought us all these like Gatorades and fruit and all this stuff. But yeah, so that was amazing. Anyway, so if you do a deep dive on Makia's Instagram, which I have, it is very Like,
like, do you gotta go that deep? I don't know.
You don't have to, but I just like knew that Makia had a story because you can see that there's a change in her Instagram basically. So it's like, you know, she has a lot of experience professionally dancing, and then all of a sudden there's like no posts for like quite a few years or something. And then all of a sudden every post is like about Jesus or dancing for Jesus, you know? So like she had told me that, you know, she had a moment however many years ago, or I don't know if it was a moment, but like that she, you know, came to Jesus basically, and that her life changed. So that was kind of, she only told me like it in a general way, but yeah, I think we're excited that maybe we're going to hear more about that. But I do want to ask quickly, just to keep it kind of similar structure, I do want to ask, like, what does your dance life currently look like right now? Like, what are you doing with dance right now?
Yeah, well, Jesus brought me to a dance school. So it's a Christian Performing Arts Center. It's called CPAC for short. And what he has me doing there currently in this season right now, I teach the younger, like 5 to 12, 13-year-olds hip-hop classes. Mm-hmm. So the beginner and like the intermediate classes. And then he planted me at a church called Pathway. So that's my home. That's where I fellowship. Those are my people.
That's where we had the Easter
dance.
So
that's where we did the Easter dance. And so I actually started going there because Kyle, he's the head pastor. He's my shepherd. Mm-hmm. His daughter danced at the school. Oh, okay. So what actually happened was the Lord had me choreographing for quinceañeras for a little bit. Oh, okay. And his wife is 100% Mexican, so his daughter was having her quinceañera. Oh, nice. And so I actually ended up choreographing for her quinceañera, and then that's how we met. And then I worked really closely with Kyle because they did a father-daughter dance, and then it was through that they invited me to Pathway, and so they know me as a dancer. Oh, cool. First, you know? And just the one who works at CPAC that they dance at, and me and Lillian took the same class. That's Lillian is his daughter. Anyway, so I was doing that, and so because they know me really well as a dancer and like a choreographer, I do different things that have to, like, they invite me to dance like for different stuff. So I did a piece, or I should say the Lord gave a piece, because I promise you I never know what I'm doing. But the Lord gave a piece for me and Lillian to do for like Christmas service before, and yeah, it's just things. So I dance at church.
That was more of like a contemporary. That was kind of a contemporary-ish piece, right? I think I saw it.
Yeah, that, and it's like it comes out in a lot of different ways. Like it can come out. I feel like worship. Honestly, there is no genre. There is no set style to it. It's just it's really about the heart posture before the Lord at the end of the day, and So where I am currently is really walking out fully what it means to dance with the Lord, and He puts me in a lot of different spaces to do that. So recently I started taking classes again. Okay. And I wasn't taking classes for years. I wasn't doing that because I was relearning how to dance with the Lord. And something He told me first when I started dancing again with Him was, you know, dancing is just making yourself physically available for my spirit to move how I see fit. So I was learning how to surrender my body to Him and make myself available. And then experience Him in that way and communicate with Him and just have fellowship. And so that's another reason why that's like the heart and the core behind why I don't like the word. I'm not fond of the word performing, because it's not to perform or put on a show. It's just to open, like to invite you into my personal conversation with the Lord. Mm. And so now I'm inviting you into what I have with God so that you can experience it for yourself. Mm. And so it's always an invitation. And I think that's what God is always doing all the time. It's a constant invitation. Everything is an invitation with Him, to experience Him, to get to know Him, for you to get to know yourself through Him, like, and to know what He thinks of you, it's always an invitation. Even when our life goes completely left, it's an opportunity and an invitation to get to know God in a new way. So that's why I don't like performance, because it's not something that we do for a minute and then, okay, now we're done and we're moving on, or I'm putting on a character. It's like, no, this is my life. Yeah. this is my life right
Yeah,
now.
for
And
sure.
so, and if I'm broken right now, then my dance is probably going to reflect my brokenness. If I'm angry, I'm probably going to be a little more aggressive. Or it's like, and to give that over to him in that moment, and then invite other people who also share a passion and have the gift of dance to experience and learn how to give something over to the Lord and through dance, because it's a beautiful way to communicate. And so, yeah, so where I am now is I'm learning how to do that in any space I'm in. And so he's been inviting me to start going out and taking classes more, because I've been taking Dancing Disciples. I go to Dancing Disciples. I just recently started taking from it's a group called Souls.
Okay.
And they call like the Souls fam. They're like a group of believers, and I think they're kind of like everybody's in a lot of different places in their walk and just their relationship with the Lord, but they all share a passion for dance, and so they come together and they do worship and they do keep him the center and stuff. So I took a class from them. I got invited by a friend of mine who grew up at this CPAC that I'm at. She invited me, and so we went together. And then recently I went to their freestyle session, and where it was like a worship session, and that was cool because that was crazy. And it wasn't the first time, but it was like it just felt significantly different, dancing in a very intimate space in a way that I would normally only dance privately with the Lord. And so, but people were around.
Was that like hard to do at first?
I wouldn't say hard. I think it was just, I don't know if hard is the word. It was like
Different.
It just was different.
Yeah.
And so it's uncomfortable. You know, anything that's different is uncomfortable, right?
New.
But I think the main place that I'm at right now is that I am a teacher at this God has me instructing kids here, and so it's teaching kids how to use their gifts for the Lord.
Yeah.
And that is so much fun. And then on top of that, side by side, I'm growing in how the Lord is now leading me into doing that. I want to say independently but it's not independently. It's just fully dependent on him. But without like a physical person ahead of me.
Okay.
Above me. You know, like a boss. Like he is my boss.
Yeah.
And he always has been, but now there is no medium. It's like he's directly telling me, I want you to now lead this. And so starting to put on my own classes and starting to do pop-up classes and essentially just all these invitations all the time. It's like, all right, I'm going to start being more loud about what I do with Jesus in private now publicly. So now I'm going to transition into that and doing the things that I am doing in class when I'm like, okay, now we're going to go behind this wall and do this. And so starting to produce get those ideas out my head and put them on camera, put them together, like put my hand to the plow basically. So so he gave me a vision. He gave me the people who have the same vision, and he's given me people who have the same heart and then who love him and who have the same giftings, but also have different giftings that complement what is needed, because you need people who know a camera, you need people who know a script and writing, you need people who know how to organize and the business logistics of the background, and know how to do like setups and stuff like this. Whereas like me, I just got the vision. It's like, okay, now tell me, how do I make this happen?
Oh yeah. Me and Makia's differences were I think they shone when we were doing the Easter thing.
Oh, for sure.
Makia's such like a visionary, creative, not that I'm not also a creative visionary sometimes, but she has this big picture and I'm over here like, well, wait, but this person can only make it to the Saturday one, so don't we need to teach that to like the other? Like I'm very like, and I'm so glad you said that,
because I'd be like, you're right. Didn't think about that. Okay, got it.
I'm like, how is this gonna work? Like, I'm trying to like figure it out. But I think God challenged me in that, because that is a gift He's given me. But also He challenged me to watch how He can just work with all our different personalities, and it did totally come together, even without knowing all the details. So yes, He does pair people together to complement, but He also can do it miraculously. He also can just make it work, Yeah. So that was cool. Worker. And I also related when you say like, right, or God is leading you into this season where God is like directly your boss. I feel like that's been my season the past like year and a half. And it's been so interesting because it's like, yeah, we're always working for God, no matter who we're working for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when you don't have an actual boss and God is like your direct report person, like it is interesting because I feel like he's always telling me like, I just want you to do what I told you to do, and I will provide for you, whether it's through the thing I told you to do or just a different way or however. Right. So I think for me, like I've loved living like this the past year and a half. I love having God directly as my boss. It's challenging but amazing, and I'm growing, and I think God's using me, and it's amazing. But then my biggest challenge is like, where's the money coming from? You know, but he does always provide.
Literally, yeah. He never fails to come through.
Yeah,
and it's so funny. What does Kyle say? Kyle says something. He's like, you know, God is never late. He's always on, or he's always on time. But he sure does miss a lot of opportunities to be there early.
That is hilarious. That's so true. And he's a great pastor. I mean, I met him a few times, but I also like the message he gave on Easter was so good.
Shepherd.
But yeah, that's so funny that he said that. That's how I feel. Like every time an almost opportunity comes, I'm like, because I know God's going to provide. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is the way he's going to provide.
Yeah.
Oh, guess not. Okay. Like, I can't tell you how many specific examples
on your toes.
I have of that in the past, like, couple months even. I'm like, okay, guess it wasn't that, or it's not that yet. Okay, God, did you forget about me?
I just knew it was going to be that. I knew. And it's like right when you think you got him, he's like, ooh, think again.
Yeah.
And it's fun because it's exciting. And when fear and anxiety is not the dominating feeling or thought or just the spirit, even, like, you really can enjoy the exciting life with God because really what we're talking about, right, is focus on the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all else will be added unto you. And so he's really just like, if you just listen to what I'm telling you and know that I have already considered everything, I know what you need, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I know you need money. I know you need food. I know you need clothes. I know you need somewhere to live. I know this. Yeah. Like, I literally know this better than you do. Okay? I know what you need more than what you know. Like, and we sit here and we scramble and we try to just figure stuff out and even try to figure him out. And he's like, I just asked you to sit with me and read this today.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we want to like feel like we got to do something, and he's just like can and even when he asks of us to just sit with him and be with him and read his word, right? We grow in being able to know his vocal voice because we know his written voice. So like we can then become sensitive to the spirit to be able to even hear the direction, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll know his voice, and then we'll be able to like, okay, he's telling me to go to this restaurant today, but it can make no sense because it's like, I ain't got no money for no restaurant. Why you telling me to go to the restaurant? You know, I can't afford no food right now. Like, why would I go there? And it's like, go to the restaurant. And then, but it's funny because if we think about it, he didn't say go to the restaurant and buy this and do that. He literally just said go to the restaurant. So why are you freaking out?
Wait, is this coming from an actual example?
No, it's an example.
Because I wanted to hear how that went.
Well, I'm like, can I pull from? There's so much stuff that I could pull from.
I'm sure. Yeah, I just didn't know if the restaurant thing was an actual thing.
Well, it's just an example that's just coming to my mind right now. It's just like, okay, I only told you to go to a restaurant, so we can just be obedient and trust that God knows what he's talking about and just go.
Yeah.
And then get there and find out and maybe run into somebody you know. And then you end up just having a conversation with somebody. Yeah. Come to find out that person needs help with something, and you. Yeah. Now God just made a connection. Yeah. It's like, I just wanted you to go there so you can have this divine appointment, have this divine conversation. And maybe you only went there to share Jesus.
Yeah.
And you're not leaving with anything else. But it's like getting to a place where like we do trust him enough to follow him into the unknown and what we do not understand, and know that like experience the reality of what everybody loves to make their favorite verse, Proverbs 3:5, like not leaning on our own understanding, but like experiencing, like applying, like I'm choosing not to go by my own understanding, and I am going to trust you, and I'm just going to do whatever you're telling me to do, and I'm going to blindly follow you. I'm just going to do it. And then experience the promise that comes from when you do that, when he makes your path straight.
Yeah.
And he clears them up. Like, it's like, and it's funny because that verse is paths. It's plural. Like, it's not just one path.
Okay.
So it's like, you can have your rent issues, you got your food issues, you got your clothes issues, you got your car issues, you got all these things going on. And it's like, there's multiple things that God is always working out, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I think it helps us to get to a place where we really are not, like, earthly minded and heavenly minded, like set on things above, and experiencing the reality that we do have treasures that are beyond this earth, because then my mood is not dependent on how much money I got in my account.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm not down because I ain't got no bread. Like, I'm not depressed because I don't even have maybe as many friends as I want or think I need or something. Like, it's just like those things start to not dictate my mood, but I become more anchored and rooted in the presence and the truth of God, like his word. And his word says that he's not leaving me, nor he's forsaking me. He's not going to have me out here needing for anything. He's never going to leave me, you know? And then also that I'm never alone. Right, that deals with anxiety, fear, and loneliness right there. You know, and it's like, he's just so cool the way he does stuff. And I think his goal is always freedom. Yeah, in him.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't realize is, like, they think, oh, if you're following God, it's a bunch of rules and it's boring. Actually, it's like the most exciting, adventurous, like, thing.
My life has never been so exciting.
And it's like very freeing because you're no longer kind of like how you were describing me in a class, like, oh, you can just go for it without worrying about what you like, how you look or whatever. It's like, I mean, and that's still a journey for me, but that's a good example of just like the freedom God has for us to just have faith and go for things. Like, even this podcast of God, I felt like he told me to do it and I was like, I don't know how to do a podcast. Right. I don't have a podcast studio. I don't have money for that. I don't know. I don't think my roommates are going to love if I bring people over here like all the time. Right. Like, I don't know how that's going to work. And I just felt like one day I was talking to God and he just downloaded all these ideas for how I literally felt like he gave me the name of it, gave me the structure, how it was going to happen, how I was going to do it, told me I was going to do it in my car. I was like, oh, I'm like writing all this down. I'm like, okay. And just the way that God's provided, I have never, sometimes people are like, oh, I have a dancer for you for your podcast. I'm like, that's great. But I'm going to be honest, I have never been lacking for dancers on this. Like, I have so many people that I don't actually have time. It's like overflowing. Yeah. I've had to like hold myself back from asking everybody I want to ask because most people do want to do it. And it's been really cool just to see who God brings. And,
well, that makes me
it's amazing. So I
was like, do I ask? I was like, Jesus, I don't know what to do.
No, that was like so perfect, and you know, God just does it how he does it. But it's just cool. And so kind of what you're saying, like the more you step out in faith and be like, I think God is telling me this. Like, it might not be like a booming voice from the sky, but if you're like getting an impression, if you're spending time in the Bible and you're spending time with the Lord and learning who he is, and you're hearing kind of a prompt in your head or an idea, and you're like, I think this might be God telling me to do this. Well, the more you try, the more you're like, I'm going to try. I think God is telling me this. You're going to see like, oh,
how he meets you.
I think he's hearing this. And sometimes it's a struggle. Like, even this was like, you know, when it wasn't making money, it was like, oh, God, did you really tell me to do this? Right. Like, I don't, because it's not successful, obviously, you know? And it's like, but that's not actually the truth. And God's showed me, like, he confirms over and over again, yep, this is what I want you to do. He just even the way that people seem to enjoy doing it. I feel like God's like, that is enough. Even if you're just blessing the person you're interviewing and nobody else even hears it, even that's enough. You know?
I didn't go to the restaurant and somebody offered me $1 million, but you did go and you got to tell them about Jesus, and now they are seriously reconsidering their whole eternal destination. It's like, how do we measure success? Like, how do we define success, and then how does God define what is successful? Yeah. And I think that is what that's the renewing of the mind that he wants. He wants to transform the way that we think and the way our perspective, and give us his perspective. Yeah. Because his perspective is the truth. Yeah. It is the perspective, right? Yeah. And it's like we can think that there's all these different perspectives and, you know, these different truths, but really, no, the truth, actually, the Bible defines truth as a person. It's not even a thing or a perspective. It's actually, truth is a person.
Yeah.
You know, and his name is Jesus. And that if you don't believe that the Bible is actually true, well, then it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, well, if you don't believe that, then, well, now you have to defend why you believe what you do believe. If you can say why you don't believe something, then you need to be able to say why you do believe something.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a concrete for why you do, well, then you can't be concrete on why you don't.
Yeah.
Because your ground is shaky.
Yeah.
You have a shaky ground. So it's either you want to really know, or you can just be honest and say, actually, I just want what I prefer right now, and I don't really want to care. And then that can go into a deeper questioning of like, well, why don't you want to care? Because you don't want to let go. So, it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But if not everybody is there for that, and God is so patient.
Yeah.
As honest and true and real as he is, he's also extremely patient and so understanding that
and meets
we
people
are just
where
people.
they're at too.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a journey with God. So, you know, we're all in different places, and God's shown me that because to have grace on each other and ourselves, and because he's working with us where we're at, and he might be working on a certain thing, like maybe growing our faith or growing whatever. But for someone else, it might be just trying to help them get curious about God. You know, wherever they're at with that, he's like loving and patient. So, that's really cool. See, we could both just talk about God and dance forever. So, okay. So, I want to know the stuff I don't know about Makia, which is I want to know like where you grew up, how you got started in dance. So, what's that story?
Okay, well, I'm from Seattle. That's why I love this hat so much, because I got it from, and I got this from the class that we met at, because, well, seen each other at, I don't know, but Dancing Disciples, Texas.
It's so cool.
Texas West. That is her name. Well, it's okay. Texas. What am I talking about? Oh my gosh.
Texas. She taught that class.
Sis, I love you, I swear. Okay. Texas taught the class that we met at, and she wore this hat, and I believe it's a Miles Minnick Christ-like hat, but she wore this, and it was the first class that I had taken. Well, no, it was the second, but it was the first class that I had taken that was back into the realm of what I came from and what I knew the best. And Texas took it, and she's a good friend of mine that I knew before I knew the Lord, and seeing her for the first time after everything was like really cool. But anyway, she had this hat, and she actually ended up giving it to me after class. And I was just like, because she was like, wait, you're from Seattle. And then, because I was like, whoa, your hat's fire. I was like, I ain't never seen that. That's cool. And then she was praying about it, I guess, and the Lord impressed upon her to give it to me. So that was precious. And now I love this hat.
That's what I remembered about Makia, because I didn't really talk to her that night. But Texas, who I also had never met until that class, but she was teaching it, and she's a great teacher and dancer as well, loves God as well. And she, I just remember you guys seeing each other and hugging for like so long. Yeah. And I was like, there's a story there. I don't know like what it is. So that's
You're such a journalist.
I remembered that when you messaged me, and then I saw who you were. I was like, oh yeah, that was the girl that I was wondering like what was the deal?
What is
because there was something like it seemed like there was like it was a big because you hadn't seen her for how long before that?
I probably hadn't seen Texas even maybe at that point maybe like 5-6 years.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, but you're from Seattle. Okay,
so I'm from Seattle, born and raised. If you're more familiar, a little town called Renton. And what's the next question?
Just like how did you get started? Because did you get started in dance in Seattle?
Yeah, so I grew up. I was born into a family of dancers.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm one of four. I'm the fourth one. And I have 2 older sisters and a brother, and all 3 of them dance.
Whoa.
And I'm 4 years younger than my brother. So they were kind of like a good chunk step in. Like all of them are close, and then I'm like the gap away a little bit. And so I just was born into this dance party, and it's just always just been a dance party.
Did your parents dance too?
My parents they got rhythm. They can dance.
Okay.
And it's crazy because my dad, I guess back in the day, he used to be, my dad is born in Texas, but like raised in Chicago, and my mom is born and raised in Chicago.
Oh.
So yeah, Southside Chicago, that's like their roots. And my dad, but my dad's side is from Texas.
Okay.
And so I guess my dad, he used to like, you know, like the cardboard on the side street, like he used to like street dance and like pop lock and do stuff like that. And yeah, and I didn't believe him for so long until one day he like whipped it out and he was like, I was like, whoa. Whoa.
How old were you when he did that?
I don't know. I think I was like preteen, maybe like, I don't know, in the like 10 to 13 area. But yeah, I've been dancing my whole life. I've literally been dancing my whole life.
Siblings dancing like professionally or competitively, or like how into it were they? Or were they just danced?
Well, it was something for a long time, and what I think is my most core memory is that we just all naturally love, like, we're all artists and creatives, so they can all draw, they can all write, they can all like my brother loves to read and make stories and like just create clothes even and like do stuff. Like we're just kind of just creative like that. And so God did that with us, and so now in our house that's just what we do. We just do that stuff together all the time. And so my mom was always really involved. She was a stay-at-home mom. She did hair. My mama does hair, so that's like a whole nother type of creative thing too. But yeah, no, it was just always arts and crafts all the time. We was always creating something, always coming up with a game. And my parents, they knew how much we were just these artsy kids that they had. So they fully supported and just even encouraged it.
Yeah.
Like they were totally right there. And so what they did was they put mirrors up in our family room, in our den. And so we had like this wall with just like these big mirrors, and we would all just go down there and we would just dance.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's it. And it was like there was nothing we would be doing it for a purpose necessarily. Like we weren't preparing anything, even though there was like, I think my youngest time performing, my sisters, they were a part of their high school stomp team, and I was in like 3rd grade, and I remember I got out of school and I got to perform at their assembly with them. Yeah, I had like this little part with my cousin. Like we like made up our own little part, and then we had like our own little guest appearance. Like they were like down, I think they were in like a split or something, and like me and my cousin came out and we were like dun, 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 and we was like doing like the Harlem Shake. Like when Bow Wow was doing that all the time. Anyway, and yeah, so stuff like that. And then my mom was really involved with different like organizations. Like she had really close friends who were breast cancer survivors. And so we were a part of like the breast cancer movement, and we would perform at their different events and stuff.
Oh wow. That's
and
cool.
My sisters and my brother, like we would just do it together, and that was just so dance and family was always like this. And I didn't dance outside of my family. Like, that was just something that I did with my family. But then my sisters, they joined a team called Cutting Up. And it was a really well-known dance team in Seattle that eventually turned into a company. And so them and my brother were all a part of it. But because I was just like, this is just something I do for fun. And it was like a hobby. And it was like, yeah, I was good at it, and I loved it. But I loved it the most because I loved my siblings. Like my siblings were my first best friends. Like, and they were who I looked up to. Like, when I tell you, nobody could touch my family in my eyes. Like, I was like, they're the best dancers on the planet. I don't care. I wanted to be like all 3 of them. And I would copy them. I would just do all the things like that. They were my idols. Wow. They were my idols. And yeah, and then.
Are they all in Seattle still?
Yeah, my whole family is still in Seattle. So, my immediate family. And then I wanted to be a vet. I loved animals.
Oh my gosh, I just interviewed someone that is amazing dancer who's going to school to be a vet too. I don't know. Animals and dance. What's happening?
Yeah, no, I have been surrounded by animals my whole life. I didn't have like a bunch of animals, but it's just they're always around me, and I just always have a connection. I just love animals. I wanted to be a vet tech, and so that was my thing. And in my mind, I was school-wise even, I was always preparing to be a veterinary technician. Like that was my mind, and that was my track. I was very tunnel visioned on that. But I also am a whole athlete and a creative too. So it was like I played basketball. I danced with my family all the time, and then even in high school I was in gymnastics and track. So it was like, it was always like I was doing stuff, but in my mind I'm like vet. But yeah, no, my siblings, they joined the dance team, cutting up, and then I was so adamant about not being on that team because I was just like, no, like, it's not that serious to me. It's like, yeah, it's cool, but they would come home and they'd teach me the dances. Like, I'd want to learn from them, you know? And then I was very shy. Like, I was very, very shy. Nobody believes me, but internally, I'm a very timid person. But he also didn't really make me that way either, so it doesn't register. Anyway, and so I would learn all the dances, and I didn't know that I had the gifting to that depth because it wasn't something that I was like taking seriously or like I wasn't thinking about it. I was a kid. It was just fun. Yeah. It was literally just fun and what I love to do with my family. But yeah, I would watch and I'd pick up the dances. And then I would go home and they would teach me and I'd be doing it. And then even like other people from the team would be at our house. Like our house was like the house that everybody was at. And
well, you had the studio with the mirrors.
We had the in-home studio. So why wouldn't it be? But yeah, and they would always be like, what? You do this so good. Like, why don't you just do it? And I'd be like, no. It was always just no. I want to go play with my friends. I don't want to be at rehearsal for 2 hours, 3 times a week. What do I look like? I want to go play. So that was my mind. Yeah. And then, yeah, I didn't want the structure. I didn't want the discipline. I didn't want the responsibility nor the accountability because I just wasn't there. Like, you know, I'm a kid. Yeah. So.
You were like, how old?
When I first started, like, it started coming around me, I was like, maybe like 10. Okay. Yeah.
They were teaching you the dances from that team while you were, like, when you were around 10?
Yeah. Okay. I say, like, I started being around them, like, maybe, like 8 to 10. Like, yeah. And then...
That's so young.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then...
And they were were they teenagers? Or they were older?
Yeah, because my oldest sister, is she 10 years older than me? No, she's like 9 years... Okay. 8, 9 years older than me, and she was a teenager.
They probably loved coming home and teaching you.
Oh yeah, no,
that was probably so fun.
I am all of their baby,
especially because you could do it. They probably thought that was so fun.
Yeah, they would teach me all this stuff, and then they would teach me like their stomp dances from high school, like because they were the captains of their stomp team on high school. Like they were really well known. Yeah. For like the Williams kids can dance, and my oldest sister, her last name is Gully, but like it's like. No, we was just the pack. We were the siblings who can dance. And so then there was even kind of like a pressure that I experienced a lot because I'm like the youngest baby coming up. I was feeling pressure. It was an internal pressure because it was just like I had to measure up to these really great dancers, and they are good. Like they genuinely like very, very gifted. Just God, you know, the gifts come without repentance. Yeah. So people are out here being great in their gifts and not even thinking about Jesus, right? Yeah. But yeah, so I was very inspired but also extremely intimidated, and so I didn't want to be on the team because I just was intimidated and I wasn't ready for that, and I didn't see dance as something that was necessarily worth my time to commit to. Yeah. It was just something I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it. And being on a dance team, you got to do choreography, you got to look like other people. It's like, now I got to be at a certain place for a certain amount of time. I got to learn this dance. It has to be the way that you want it to be. It's like I felt very constricted. Yeah. Where to me it was this thing that I was just free to do when I wanted to do it with the people I wanted to do it with. Yeah. I don't know y'all. So it was that too. Yeah. But of course you're a kid, you're a teenager. All of that stuff was playing into just, I'm shy. I'm scared. I'm intimidated. It's unknown. It's also, dealing with the sin in me that doesn't want discipline, that doesn't want to be accountable to people, that, you had to have your grades a certain level to be able to perform. Like, it was good. It was good in the sense of just, the focus was to, build good people rather than good dancers. And so there was a lot of focus and attention on that by the owner of it. And so I just, I was like, no, don't want that. So I didn't. But then I ended up doing this citywide talent show with 2 other girls my age, and we actually ended up winning.
Nice.
And so then I didn't have no choice, and I was basically forced to be on the dance team. And so they were like,
you're not hiding your talent very
well.
Yeah.
So I was basically like told like, no, you're coming to do this. But yeah, that was cool. And I did find out through doing that I was like, I kind of like it, but I think it was because I also built a relationship with the 2 girls I was doing it with.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, I got friends.
Yeah.
You know, and they were still like, I was still trying to find it, but yeah, it was just, I think through that God was dealing and breaking things off and kind of allowing me to be led in the direction that he did want me to go.
Yeah.
That I didn't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
But there was just all this stuff on top that would just need to get dealt with. And it was a lot of mental stuff, a lot of attitude, a lot of just personal preference, and a lot of insecurities that I didn't know how to be open about. So it kind of came out in just weird teenage girls way.
Yeah. So they convinced you to be a part of this.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it. At first I was like, no, I'm quitting. I'm not doing it. And I was only down because my sister was leading it at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'll dance for my sister. But then when it wasn't her anymore, I was like, yeah, no, I'm out of here. And then it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to walk dogs. I'm going to do that.
Were you, how old were you at the time of that?
I was about 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it was like, well, what are you going to do over the summer?
Oh, okay.
And I was like, no, I'm gonna walk dogs. And then it was like, okay. And then I did do that. And then after a while, I was just kind of like, no, get over here. And I was like, okay, fine. So then I went, and yeah, when I was still with my sister, so I felt that comfort and that safety. But then I ended up being the main part for the first performance I did with them.
Wow.
And that was like, I was like, wait, what? Like, because it was just, I did not expect it.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of, I looked back in hindsight now and I see how God kind of was plucking me. Yeah. And like putting me, when I tried to stay in the back. Like, I tried to just be not involved, in the back, on the side. But there was something in me that he put towards dance that I didn't even know was really there, that was starting to come out. And so it was not something that I necessarily had to try hard to do because it was natural. It came so natural. So yeah, he just highlighted me, and that's what ended up happening. So I ended up being the main part for the first show that I did, and then it kind of just took off from there. And then after a while, I was on that team for a long time, and it turned into a company because it just got more serious, right? And yeah, the owner of it, he had came to LA to pursue dance, to be a professional dancer, but he actually came back to Seattle, and he realized through that pursuit that he rather had been in an agent manager position where he's the one who takes the dancer and leads and whatever guides. And so when he figured that out, he came back to Seattle, and he basically seen me, and he was like, you know, if you wanted to do this professionally, you could. And at the same time, though, my family actually kind of blew up. And so because I correlated dance and family together, when I lost what I felt like was my family, like my sister moved out, my other sister moved out, my brother was kind of just nowhere to be found, but it was just a lot going on, and my parents split up. And to me, that was like everything, because my family literally was my everything. That was my life, right? I said they were my idols. And so because they held such a high pedestal for me, like they were on, and then when it kind of just blew up, it was almost like out of panic and not really knowing what to do internally, and not even like necessarily consciously doing it, but I clung to my dance family. And I clung to where I was getting the attention, because everybody was in their own space and I was the baby. So it was kind of, at the time I didn't really think that that it affected me. Yeah. Because I was like, I'm not the one getting divorced. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, I'm cool, but grades slipping. I'm skipping school. Like, I'm now I got completely tunnel visioned on where I was getting attention, which definitely was through dance, because I'm getting all this, like, people who don't know me are knowing me. Like, I don't even know these people and they know me because it was a really well-known company throughout the city. So, and now I'm, like, I'm always put in the front for it. And then I'm, like, really close to the owner. And it's just, like, I just was constantly being put on Front Street, basically. Yeah. And so, yeah, I clung to that because everything I knew was kind of just ripped from my hands. So unconsciously or subconsciously, I really clung to my dance family and where I was getting what I needed. And then, and I got to about my junior year, and I was doing gymnastics. I started gymnastics. It was the first time I did it. That was another thing. I'm naturally athletic. Like, I don't know if you see, like, I don't work out.
Well,
I actually stay away from weights because God, no, I don't need help. So I don't. He's working on my confidence. He has helped me to love the way he made me. But for a long time, it was just like, I'm supposed to be a girl. Why do I look like this? But yeah, so doing gymnastics, that was another thing that came kind of natural. So I was pretty good at it, and I made state like all 4 years my first time doing it in high school. And so I had an opportunity to pursue that if I wanted to too.
Wow, so you were doing gymnastics and that dance team at the same time.
Yeah. So I joined kind of later in high school. Like, I joined the team officially maybe like 10th grade or something like that. I don't even know. I could be off on my dates, but I think about like towards the end of 9th going into 10th grade. But gymnastics I was really into with my best friends, and that was like a whole thing. So I can see how God kind of gave me outlets of like family type of community, while my actual family was kind of going through a deconstruction.
Yeah.
I'll say. Yeah. Deconstructing, because I wasn't raised biblically. Jesus was not our leading, he was not our head, he was not the head of our household. Now, God may not have been necessarily invited into our home, but his hand was definitely on our home. And so that was his mercy. I think that deconstruction, it was a lot of exposing happening that needed to happen.
Just so hidden stuff.
A lot of hidden stuff coming up and coming out, and it came out in a really, really, really loud way. And so I think that drew a lot of attention to my family, and it was hard because I was kind of the center of it, but I didn't want to be, and I didn't recognize that I was, because I disassociated quickly. But then that's also where me and my dad got really, really close. I was already a daddy's girl, but we got really close to my dad because I went with my dad.
Oh, okay.
And I only had, when all that happened, I only had one more year of high school left.
Okay.
So it was at that same time that I made that shift from being a vet to, I could pursue this dance thing professionally. I would do this for free, and I'll get paid for it. Why not? Like, so I was just like, sure. All right. I made the career switch in like my junior year of high school, and yeah, he said, listen to me. I'll get you to LA, and I'll get you there. I'll do it. And I was like, okay, cool. So essentially, I basically gave my life over and was like, essentially, do with me what you will.
Wow.
Just tell me what to do.
Did you graduate first and then move?
I graduated high school, and then right out of high school, I got booked as a background dancer for a Chinese artist, and I went to China for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so did you do that before you came to LA?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So I graduated high school in 2013, and then I auditioned that summer, and then, I left in August, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I was in China for 6 months doing that with her, and then another 3 months teaching.
Oh, wow.
At a studio as a foreign teacher.
Oh my goodness.
And that was my first time like teaching. And I was teaching Chinese kids a groove class.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
did
actually
you speak
I had to learn a lot of stuff, but don't ask me what I remember, because if you don't practice it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
But I did learn, the main thing I remember is how to count to 8, and it's E, R, Sa, Se, Wo, Leo, Chi, Ba. And if you want to say E, Da, R, Da, Sa, that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Oh,
yeah, so
I was thinking, why would you want to say that? Oh, hello for dance.
Now, if you want to say, well, why would I want to say?
I'm like, why would you want to count with ands? I had this weird moment of like I never do dance.
I'm just an interviewer.
Like, oh wait, that's why you had to know the numbers. Did you love being there, or was it like, did it feel crazy?
Oh my gosh,
like,
the first 3 months was crazy because it's such a culture shock.
Yeah,
it's so completely opposite of
young.
Everything here. I was 18.
Yeah.
I graduated when I was 17, so I had turned 18 right after I graduated, and then I was going to China, and that was the first time I ever left my parents' house, and I'm on the other side of the country.
Wow.
With a whole nother culture. It was insane. I lost my mind for the first 3 months.
And your first like real dance job too.
Yeah, and
like,
I was so
crazy.
immature. Oh my gosh. It's crazy that Jesus would allow that to happen. But it did. And it was crazy because it was like I had no sense of anything. Like, but I also was there with a friend as well.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually one of the girls that I did the citywide talent show with when I was like 13.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we grew up, we got really close.
That's cool.
Her name is Jada. And we got really close. I called her right hand. Yeah, but we went out there together. So I wasn't by myself. So
thankfully.
Thank God, but we were still two 18-year-olds acting crazy in a whole nother country. There was no drinking age limit. We're American. We're American, so they're not worried about us. They're not paying attention.
China doesn't have any age?
Not that I know of.
Oh, that's funny.
But I mean, definitely not for 18-year-old Black American girls that all they care about is you. Like, they're just looking at you because they're like, whoa, and it's a culture shock for them, and they only see people like this on TV, and now we're here, so now it's like, we're like celebrities because like.
You're getting even more
especially
attention.
when you're in a small town. In our first town that we went to, it was called Shenzhen, and we were like animals in a zoo cage to them.
Wow.
Let free. It was crazy.
Wow.
I remember we would just be walking down the street, and it's like literally almost everybody is staring. People are driving past like out their car window. Like, I'm like, you gonna crash, bro? Like, people are just taking pictures of you.
I feel like you were already getting all the attention through dance, and then doing that is just like probably heightened it so much.
Make my head even bigger, right? I'm already young, 18, and out of high school, I go to China for a dance job. Prior to that, I'm already all over your city doing a bunch of stuff and getting really well known, and it's like. And then I go and do this. Like, at that point, in a sense, like, people was already calling me, like, a Seattle celebrity.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're that young, my head is getting like this. So, but it was still also hard to navigate because this was a very last-minute decision for me to even go for everything. I just fell into everything. Like, nothing was really my choice. That's what it seemed like, even though I do have a choice, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of little choices.
Yeah.
But
it was never like, okay, I'm going to do this. It was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then I will go with it.
Yeah.
And so, because also, too, in a way that God made me, if I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm an extremist. That works in my favor, and it works against it all the time.
That's probably why you didn't want to do it at first, because you're like, I know if I do this, I am going to end up
I'm like,
doing
I got to
everything.
be at this, I got to do this, I got to be a part of the fundraisers. I don't even care about funding for y'all. So it's like, if I didn't care enough, then I just wouldn't do it, because it was like, I don't want to half do it. And so, but then once I was in it, it was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it. And even if I didn't necessarily want to, there was still something in me that was just like, I think a lot of it's pride also too, because it's like, if I'm gonna try something, I don't want to fail, so I'm gonna put everything in it to not look stupid. Like, if I'm gonna do this, I need it to work. Like, if I'm gonna do it, it needs to succeed. Like, that was my mind. And I think that goes into like a lot of perfectionism, and even just like a lot of goal oriented and driven people. It's like, I am determined. It's like, determination is good, but when it defines whether you're successful or not, or like if your identity is wrapped around it, which mine was. It's very unhealthy. It's an unhealthy thing. So that's where I was at. It was just like, no, I'm not. I will sell my soul to make sure that I get this right.
Wow.
Type thing. And it ended up going in that direction.
Wow. And so after that, were you going straight to LA after that?
Yeah,
Did
so
you
I
book
was there for 9
right
months. Well, actually, funny enough, while I was in China, I actually met people who lived in LA.
Okay.
Who were out there working too.
Okay.
One of them from Seattle, and I didn't know them before, but yeah, I was there, and we met. So I actually made a connection with people who were pretty established in LA, or getting established in LA, in China. And they actually trained, I was under their training for a little bit. And so then when I went back to the States, I came back to Seattle, and then I worked for about a year. And that even goes into another thing of just like, I was so adamant about doing anything that I needed to do to do what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
That was my first time experiencing essentially dancing professionally. I always look at it as like selling yourself, because you literally are.
Well, yeah.
And even if you look at it and not a like super explicit sexual way, it's like, no, you are selling yourself. You're making sure your Instagram looks a certain way.
Yeah.
You're taking your headshots.
Right.
You got to sell yourself. You got to be bookable, likable. You're constantly selling yourself. And I think that was one of the times that I had to take a step deeper into selling myself. And in order to produce the money that I needed to move to make my money goal, that was the first time I actually stepped into a strip club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I actually used that gift in that way.
Wow.
And I did it, but I went in with like this mindset of like, I need to make this number and then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And so I went in and I made that number and I got out of there. Okay. So I did it for like a month.
Okay.
But nonetheless, I did it.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I think opened up a door for me where I was like I was just more open to doing things that was a lot more explicit. And that was when I was 19. So it was like, okay, but that was not long before I moved to LA. Okay. And so I think that kind of helped groom, in a way, what I was about to step into.
You saw that you were capable of that type of dancing, and you saw that it made money. So those like things were probably in your brain.
Quick.
Yeah. I was going to say, only a month you made the number you wanted. I can see why it's alluring to people. Like,
I went in there with a goal, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so you went to LA after that.
And I moved to LA a year after I got back from China. So.
And did you have a job? Did you have a job lined up when you were going to LA, or you just finally came here?
I came with the money that I had.
Okay.
And I had a place where I was gonna stay set up and lined up. The man who was helping me, he had helped really like line everything up for me, set me up, right? And I was living off the money that I made to bring, and I had a good deal. Set up, like $500 a month. Like, it was like,
that's amazing. I had amazing deals when I first came here too. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, and then it was just hit the ground running with taking thousands of classes every day.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was taking anywhere between 3 to 6 classes a day.
Wow.
Like, it was just class after class after class after class. But it was also where I started, and then making connections.
Right, I was going to say, you're probably connecting with everybody.
I'm connecting with a lot of people. Yeah. And then I had those connections before I came.
Yeah.
And they were, then I was under that training again and with them. And then I'm going to parties. And then I'm doing different stuff like Jeté, Carnival, like doing all the stuff where people do get to see you, get to showcase your talent, whatever. And then, just you start to connect with people. You go to all the auditions. I'm going to so many auditions all the time. And because this wasn't necessarily something that I grew up with the goal of having, I didn't know what I was stepping into.
Yeah.
I never studied anybody. I didn't know, because this was not something that I was passionate about necessarily from jump. It was just, I just love to dance.
Yeah.
And that was it. I didn't know about nobody else and what y'all got going on. I just know I like to dance.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't something I studied. It wasn't something I looked into. It was just something that was being made aware of as I went. And so, like I say, that's why I kind of fell into everything. And I began learning different styles even before I moved to Seattle, because I started taking, or moved to LA because I started taking different styles and genres in Seattle too. And so then I'm training in jazz. I'm training a lot in jazz funk because that was a big thing. I had taken a couple ballet classes, but I was like, no, we're taking it too far.
You're a professional dancer. You're like, ballet is taking it too far.
Yeah, no.
That really wasn't what you like needed for what you were doing anyways,
yeah,
but
and so...
That's funny.
Yeah, but a lot of jazz funk, pop-in, a lot of hip-hop, a lot of different styles.
What was like your first big, like, I know you're doing carnival and that kind of stuff. What was like your first big like dance job you got in LA? Do you remember?
I think, to me at the time, I had worked with Keke Palmer. I don't know why that felt so huge to me. I think it was because it was like a celebrity that I felt was really well known.
Okay.
To the people that I know.
Yeah.
And so that was like,
okay,
cool. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's hard because again, I didn't care.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was all kind of like, okay, cool. My goal in my mind was just to get to a place where I was direct booked and I was known well enough to the point where I could just be called.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have to audition
anymore.
Yeah, like it would just come to me.
Yeah.
That was my goal. Because I didn't study anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what was a big job to get, you know? Like, so it was like, I'm just out here.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm just seeing what happens. And so I think that was for the best, actually. But, yeah. So, I mean, I guess...
Did it get to that point? Did you feel like you were just kind of getting called at some point?
Yeah, and maybe my biggest was, I don't know, like doing Grammys and doing, going on a tour, I think was cool. I went on a tour with, Normani. It was like a short, like, holiday tour. I actually didn't tour a lot.
Okay.
I did not tour a lot at all.
Yeah, it seems like you did a lot of, like, award shows, music videos.
Yeah. It was more like, I was definitely more on a set or on a stage.
Yeah.
I wasn't...
It kind of seems preferable than to a tour in my head, but...
I mean, well, financially, no.
Oh, okay.
You want to be on a tour
because
like that's more consistent payment, right?
Okay.
Or if you're a commercial dancer, you want to be in commercials because you get residuals.
Right.
Like the high budget commercials, right? Because then that's that consistent income. You know, what's crazy about that is I did, but a lot of it was like a payout, which is basically a lump sum of money that you get versus a monthly payment that you get. I did those, but then, funny enough, the very last job I did in the industry was a commercial. And that is the most I made on any job.
Oh, you needed that for your next transition of life.
And God is... Jesus
is
real, and God is intentional.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that worked out.
You worked with a lot of big artists. Mm-hmm. And I know you didn't care. You were just dancing, whatever. But you were making money. You were doing all these gigs. You were getting called. Were you enjoying it that whole time? Did it become a struggle at some point? Like, how did life feel as you were living that life?
It was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was also it was interesting because you have two sides where it's like on one side, I am having fun at parties. I am meeting people. I am, getting into spaces that I never necessarily envisioned myself being in. So it was cool. And then, but I did have some people where I was like, aspired to be close to or wanting to work with, and then getting close to and working with them. That was exciting, and that was just, it did something also too for my ego, and just kind of feeling like, oh, I'm good enough or something.
Yeah.
But there was also this other side where it was the reality of the private that's going on, and I am doing all these big jobs, but they also don't pay on time, all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe hardly ever.
Oh wow.
And so they don't pay on time, or meeting these people that I've been aspiring to meet, but they're not who you would want them to be, and these are, whenever I go to talk about like meeting celebrities or people who are put on these pedestals or who have these just well-known names, I want to be very clear that it's not to bash them, because at the end of the day, these are people who are dealing with real issues, and they're dealing with them even on a caliber that where they're in front of the world having to deal with it. So it's like, if we struggle in private, imagine the pressure of trying to upkeep an image in front of the whole world. That's a lot. And so they're it's intense. So the intensity level of what they have to deal with, it's pretty high. And so their intensity level of needing to try to keep it and sustain it is also high. It's going to match it. And so you deal with the reality of what this person is dealing with face to face. And it's hard, and it's ugly, and it's very, very, very uninviting. Yeah, and it's destructive, because they're living in a destructive lifestyle. And then you're now in their space. You're gonna feel that destruction, and it's gonna destroy you too. So it's like, it's kind of just this constant bounce off with each other of this cycle of just destruction, and it's very greedy. The industry is very greedy. The world is greedy.
Yeah.
It's a self-serving place. So it's like, yeah, can you do this for me? Then yeah, you're in the room. If you can't, then you out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and then yeah, experiencing even when you do, and it's crazy because everybody knows that and everybody feels it. We call it the devil's playground for a reason, but we don't really take into the seriousness. Like, we don't take into account the seriousness of what we're saying. We don't really believe that the devil is really a prowling lion out here. Like, you don't comprehend the reality of his schemes and his deviousness, like his wickedness, right?
Yeah.
We think of him as just this red guy with a pitchfork, and it's like, what? No. First of all, the Bible describes Satan as the most beautiful being you'll ever see.
Yeah. And he's a deceiver.
And he is a deceiver. He's not even just a liar. He's the father of lies.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a creator of anything, but if you could say he's a creator of anything, he's a creator of lies.
Yeah.
So why do you think that you can try to get one over on the creator, on the father of lies?
Yeah.
He bursts lies.
Yeah.
All he does is lie. He
Yeah.
doesn't know how to do anything else. And he's good at it. He's not stupid. You can't play him. He knows you better than you probably know yourself. He knows this world and people better. He's been deceiving us since jump. Since we got here. And we've been falling for it ever since. So it's like, to say that we're in the devil's playground, and you know, we all feel it. Like, we all, like, everybody in the industry feels it, and they know it. They know it. Don't let them tell you that they don't, unless they're fresh in. But even still, you're going to be quick to get a taste if you really want to get in it. Because you got to sell yourself. You do. You got to give up your morals. You got to give up, something needs to be given up. And if you really want to get to a level, any level, if you want to get to a level that is globally impacting, you know, or to reach any type of platform. But I was doing that without Jesus on my mind at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't go in with, you know, an intentional, with a compass outside of myself, with a power that was stronger within, you know, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So, and it's not to say that I didn't have that on me.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something I was seeking.
Right.
Right? Because if I was, I wouldn't have even been led in the direction that I was led in. And it's not to say that God can't lead you right into the muck, right?
Yeah.
He can, but he will only do that intentionally with you aware that he is the one leading you, and that you guys are doing this together. And there needs to be an understanding even within ourselves that, God, you're going before me.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
And so trying to do it without him, oh, nah, you gonna get sucked up in that quicksand so quick, you know? And you might think that you're not, because I also fell for the lie that I was different. And a lot of people believe that too, because it's like, and you think you're different because you see the craziness. Like, you can see it.
Yeah.
Like, you see the lying, you see the deceiving, you see the backstabbing, you see the greediness. You can call it out even. And you can even not be necessarily doing what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're just there to do your job.
Yeah.
But there is something that about the compliance of even being present and not openly rejecting it that makes you a part of it. Like, no, I'm not in private out here trying to trick guys for a Birkin bag. No, I'm not doing that, but I am a part of the music video that is promoting that. So I myself am supporting it.
Yeah.
I'm allowing my image to be used to promote this wicked and destructive agenda.
Yeah.
So I am a part of the very industry that is glorifying drugs, sex, money, like cheating, adultery, fornicate, like all this stuff. And by these words, I mean, I'm not even going to use these words because I know it can go over people's head, but I am promoting lying to the person that you're with. I'm promoting having multiple partners. I'm promoting selling your body. I'm promoting going and having sex with anybody that you choose to see fit. I'm promoting drinking until you can't see. Like, I'm promoting popping pills. I'm promoting that it's okay if you upset and angry to fight somebody, to shoot somebody. Like, it's like, I'm promoting that it's better to have all these shiny things while I'm literally in the same song telling you how depressed I am, so I gotta numb it with this bottle. Like, it's like, I'm a part of promoting this agenda, right? And
did you feel like, because I often think about this with a lot of this music that's out there that's supporting all those things. I'm like, why would that be supporting all those things if that stuff wasn't happening for real there?
Right.
And so, like, did you feel like that was happening in that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's crazy because you can think that because you see it and you can call it out, right? It's like, okay, well, why do you think, like, it's for us to think so highly of ourselves that we think that we can be in a situation and not be influenced by it. Be in an environment and not be influenced by our very environment. And just because I'm not doing it to the degree that you're doing it, I somehow think I'm better because, well, I'm not stealing from people. I'm not talking behind my friends' backs. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But yet, okay, but you do go out like maybe like 5-6 times out the week and get drunk. Why? Why are you doing that? Why do you need to be drunk all the time? Have you stopped to question that?
Yeah.
What are you running from? What are you trying to numb? And then also even just like continuing to work for the very people that you have experienced them use and abuse you. It's like, well, why do you keep going back to that destructive situation? Why? Because you need money that bad? Why are you willing to put yourself in a position just for a check?
Do you think it's because when you or people don't have God, they feel like they have to control the way that they can get money versus someone trusting that, like, God's going to get them?
Well, yeah. So that's what the title of that chapter even is. What is it? The focus on the kingdom of righteousness and all else will be added unto you, secure to anxiety.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
In your Bible?
It is. I forget. I think it's the ESV version.
Yeah, so we're talking about a verse. It's in the Bible. I think about this verse a lot, although I can't remember the reference. But it's seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added. And it's in a chapter that's talking about worrying about like money and what you're going to eat and your clothes and stuff like that. And it says, oh, the world worries about these things, but you don't have to. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added is basically the gist of it. And then Makia is saying in her Bible, it says the title of that chapter is The Cure for Anxiety.
I think it's the ESV version, which is the English Standard Version. If not the AMP. I be in the Amplified because Amplified just gives me all it's very wordy.
Oh, my mom used to love the Amplified when I was young. We always read that. But so that is interesting. I would think the main reason would be, and was this your main reason for going back to things that maybe weren't exactly, like, was it money? Was it just because you felt like, or was it just you got used to it, so you just keep doing the same type of things or working with the same people?
Well, yeah, I think you fall into a pattern and a habit of things. Anything can become a habit, and you can fall into just a cycle. It's easy. But
did you stop liking it though? Like, were you like, I don't really like what they're doing or how this is being handled, but I just keep going. Over time, I started to just recognize my surroundings. But I think that that's something that we can't do apart from God. Like, God begins to make us aware, whether we know it's Him doing it to us or not. But we just start to become aware. And we also all have a moral compass.
naturally. He's giving it to us.
Yeah.
So we do kind of know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we do. And so when you're in these situations, you can see what's right and you can see what's wrong. And you have the ability to choose what direction you're going to go and what you're going to stand on. And a lot of times we don't have the power to do that on our own because of whatever circumstances. I need the money. You are dealing with insecurities that you don't know how to speak up. There is fear. There is also a lot of pressure and a lot of ultimatums that you're given. Sometimes it's like, well, if you're not going to do this, well, then you're not going to get it, Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you think, well, I'd rather get it. And maybe you're thinking like, if I just, give in this one time, then that'll be it. But it's like, then you open the door and now you're more susceptible to doing it again and again. And at some point it just kind of becomes the norm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for me, I think it was just trying to meet that need, that need that we're all born with, to be validated and to be wanted.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It does. It totally feels good. But it's no different than even like getting a drink. Like, you got to keep drinking. Yeah. It's a temporary fix. Yeah. So you keep going.
You want it more. You want more of it. You have to do it more often.
Yeah. And then even sometimes you can be going after it in an unhealthy way, in a very loud and obviously unhealthy way, like drinking or sex or all the partying and all the stuff. But then you can also flip it up and you can see like, oh, there's something wrong with that. So like what I did is like, yeah, okay, seeing what's wrong with that. And even the person I was in a relationship with at the time, we're both seeing what's wrong with it. And so now we're going the route of, okay, well, let's switch it up. Like, let's stop hanging out with all those people all the time, and let's stop drinking so much. Like, let's now we're not smoking blunts, we're smoking joints. We're trying to smoke clean. Yeah. Okay, now let's not smoke at all. Let's just do edibles. And it's like you want to start jumping on this clean way of living, and it's like, okay, now this is right. Like, this feels better because now you're getting your health in order. You're getting, and there's levels where you start to just try to feed that need of feeling good and feeling like you have some type of hold and you're just clean. Right? Because you start to feel the dirtiness of it all. And then you know that it's not right. So you're just trying to find a way in your own strength, with your own understanding, how do I get right? Yeah. And you can do it through just like stopping to drink. Now I'm going to therapy. Now I'm doing, like, I didn't do therapy, but I'm just saying.
I love that, like, you're discussing things like crazier than therapy, and like, then you're like, but I didn't do therapy.
But even like, starting to just, okay, I'm just going to go to work. I'm not going to kick it. I'm just going to go and do my job and go home. I am going to be faithful to my person. But even then, it's still like, okay, well, I'm trying to be faithful in my own strength because I'm still dealing with temptations where it's like, I still want to go do what I want to do. Yeah. And now I'm not doing it openly. Maybe it's more private. Maybe and me personally, I got to a place where I just had a lot of secrets. Yeah. And a lot of stuff that I was not proud of because I was doing a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah. And, you can get into survival mode. I got into survival mode heavy because LA is not cheap. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't booked right away. I was homeless a lot. Really? Yeah. And people were letting me stay on their couch. I shared this on my live, like, I was dealing with a lot of health issues, but also at the same time, I was dealing with a lot of mental and emotional and even spiritual things that I couldn't even begin to comprehend or articulate. So I just kind of was doing whatever weird stuff. I don't want to say it's weird, it just was irrational. And it was desperate moves I was making that I didn't know where they were coming from, so I didn't understand why I was even doing what I was doing. Like, I was lying a lot. I was definitely a habitual liar. Like, it just flew out my mouth. And I lied about, like, passing out. I faked it a few times. It started in China. But now I know, in hindsight, it was because I was looking for an escape. Because I never really technically wanted to do this whole dance thing. Yeah. And it became my life. It became consuming. And it was like, I just need to get out. But I couldn't feel like I could say no. Because I committed and I couldn't say no. Yeah. In my mind, it was like, no, I'm stuck. Like, you have to commit. You have to do this. And so you need to have a legit reason. You can't just not do it because you don't want to do it. Yeah. So I came up with a reason. And I would just start faking like I
that you got sick or fainted or something like that.
Yeah. And so that was my way out, just for me to literally go to the doctor. And they did tell me like 5 different things was wrong with my heart. So now I'm conflicted because it's like, whoa. who gave y'all
You're
a
like,
script?
actually, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like this was a one woman show. What are you doing? It was bad.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Do you think that God used that to show you that stuff was actually wrong?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's so interesting.
100%, 110%. And it was stuff I couldn't fake. It was like I had a block in my electric current. My heart was enlarged, and I was showing signs of heart failure.
Whoa.
Because I think now what I know, I think the Lord told me or revealed to me, I was having very severe anxiety attacks.
Okay.
And so I was feeling the palpitations.
Yeah. So it was real to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. It just was, I took it a little over the edge, and I was like, yeah. So, yeah. But it was so intense that it's like, no, like ambulances came and picked me up.
Wow.
Like it was it was known. It was citywide known. And then I did it out here. It was in China. It was in Seattle. It was out here. And after I did it out here, and my mom, she was just like, you need to go down. I'm putting my foot down. You need to figure this out. And I was like, I'm okay, I swear. And then she was just like, no. And so I was going to prove her wrong.
Yeah.
Just for me to find out.
Yeah.
And at first, I was kind of faking with the test a little bit. But then they started telling me stuff, and I was like, never mind, I'm not playing with this no more. And I didn't, and they really told me. And then I can't fake, a EKG. Mm-hmm. I can't fake an X-ray.
Yeah.
So it was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So then I was really conflicted. But I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I'm going to look like a psychopath. So it was like, so I'm dealing with this internally.
It's like extra anxiety on top of it.
Yeah,
like,
it was
crazy.
A lot of internal battles that I was dealing with that nobody except God knew.
Wow.
I didn't tell a single soul.
Yeah.
And so I fell into a really deep depression, and this was like 2016.
Okay.
2017.
Okay.
Like
and you had moved to LA what year?
In 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too long of being into all this.
Yeah, no.
But your career went very quickly into everything. So.
Yeah. So, and it hadn't jumped off yet. It was like right before.
Oh, okay.
This happened like right before I think I started really getting Yeah.
So, okay, the like home, like not having a place to live and stuff like that, that was experienced before
my
all
first
of
like
this.
year and a half. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of jumping around. I lived in so many places for my first year. And and just trying to figure it out. I just was a kid stumbling around in this LA world, and it was a lot. It was hard.
So what did you work through those health issues, or what happened?
Well, because I couldn't really explain to nobody my situation, I just kind of silently was just like, okay, I just came to the conclusion that the doctor ordered for me to not dance because they said that because of the heart failure signs.
Yeah.
They were like, it's possible that your heart can give up.
Oh, dang.
And so they recommended no dancing.
Okay.
And I was like tripping because I was like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what else to do with myself. So I literally didn't do anything because also too what I noticed was I couldn't go anywhere without having a drink.
Oh.
I had got to a place where I was a really high functioning alcoholic.
Dang.
And like to the point where I'm waking up taking shots by myself.
Wow.
And so I had to stop drinking. I had to stop smoking. I had picked up smoking, which I never thought I'd do. I started smoking, and then I couldn't go hang out with people because all my friends, all they want to do, we drink. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And I can't be around and not have a drink.
Yeah.
Like I knew I could. It like they weren't like you can't hang out with it. It was like no, I literally can't.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that, and I was like, well, I can't go anywhere. I can't do it because if I can't do that, then I can't go.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, and now I can't go take class because dancing might kill me. So in my mind, the way I came up with it was, all right, can't drink, I want to drink. Can't smoke, I want to smoke. Can't hang out with my friends, I should be able to, but if I go do that, that's going to hurt me too. And now the one thing that should be okay and good for me is going to kill me. So now everything I seen it as like everything that I want, it hurts me.
Yeah.
So now everything that I want is not good for me. What does that say about me? I want everything that's not good for me.
Yeah.
And then I was like messing with this little boy at the time, and I was just like, he crazy too for me. So it was like, and I still wanted him. So it was like everything that I want is killing me.
Yeah.
And so I started to internalize that and really look at myself, and I fell into a really deep depression for the first time that I was conscious of.
Yeah.
And I was staying in my friend's house, the same guy who I met in China, who was my mentor and everything. Like, he let me stay at his house while he was overseas teaching for like a month.
Okay.
And I just stayed in his house, and I was by myself. And I had a friend who I ended up getting in a relationship with coming and visiting me, and she would bring me food. She'd bring me, like, she would feed me. She would just come and listen to me and just talk to me, hang out with me. And in this really dark space that I was in. And that was the first time that I realized that I'm really a terrible person. And I didn't know what to do about it because there was nobody I could talk to about this, because how I couldn't dare say what's really going on. So, yeah. And that was actually the first time I started hearing about Jesus.
How did you first start hearing about Jesus?
My friend was telling me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she was raised Christian, but she walked away for a little bit. She's also from Seattle as well.
Okay.
But, yeah, she was telling me about him. She started looking for him again. Like, started like, okay, I need you to tell me if you're real or not. And so she was on her hunt again for him, because she was back around her family who are devout Christians.
Okay.
And yeah, they, so she was coming, when she was coming to see me, she was taking like 3-hour bus rides just to come see me. Yeah. And to spend time with me, so that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And that spoke volume to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, now looking back, it's like, that was the love of Jesus coming to meet me in my dark place where I am tripping, right? But he is doing anything to get to me, to talk to me, to spend time with me, and to tell me about himself, because that's what she was doing. She was in the place where she was looking for him again, but then she would come and tell me what she was experiencing. At the time, completely over my head, right? But since being with the Lord now, he's given me his perspective, and he's like, that was me coming to see you in that place.
That's really cool.
And she was telling me about how she asked him to reveal himself to her, and basically she asked him all these questions, right? All these questions about intentional questions about specific questions about her situation and what was going on in her life. A whole gang of questions, right? Fast forward, and she's like, am I like losing my mind? I'm not even talking to anybody. Like, I just need to know you're there, right? Like, what's going on with this? What's this? What? And she fast forward like a week later, she's somewhere with our friend. They end up smoking in a session with somebody. A person in the session pulls out this notebook full of all this stuff, and they're just like, I don't know, the Lord just put this on my heart. It was every single answer to every single question that she had asked.
Whoa.
And it was like, wait, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so then Holy Spirit takes over the room. Ain't nobody high anymore. Now they just crying. They bawling Jesus in the room. It was insane.
This was her story. You weren't there.
This was her story.
Okay,
I wasn't
crazy.
even there. But at the time, she came and she told me, and she brought the paper with her.
Oh, wow.
She told me, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I was so wrapped up in where I was at, that I couldn't even comprehend it. But so now it's like, looking back, it's like Jesus was coming and meeting me in my darkest place, knowing my secrets, knowing what I'm dealing with, knowing my confusion, and was trying to bring me himself, you know? And it's crazy because at the time, my life and everything was so dark. She was the only light in my life, and I noticed it. And I just fell in love with the way that, you know, this person loved me. And that was the love of God that I was experiencing and recognizing. And then because in my mind it's like everything that I want and I'm attracted to, it's bad for me, I finally became attracted to this. And that was like, oh, I'm finally want something good. And so not being able to really wrap my mind around kind of like what that meant, because, you know, carnal mind and the spirit, they don't mix. So I was making sense of what I could at the time. And so I thought it was this person. But it was Jesus. It was Jesus in and all over, right? And so but I didn't know that, and I didn't understand that. And so finally I'm like doing what I got to do to get myself out this hole, secretly, privately, but also with the help of the Lord somehow, because it didn't make no sense how I got out of that place. But I just started drinking less.
Okay.
I actually started smoking more, which that's crazy. People, man. And then but then I started going for runs. I started like, I got to build up my stamina. That's what I got to do. So I started focusing on my health issues on my own. I was just something I'm dealing with, and I don't need nobody's help. I stopped going to the doctor because I was like, y'all need to stop telling me stuff.
Well, it wasn't helping your anxiety.
Yeah.
So
and so I just started. I just tried to deal with it the best I could privately, and just was like, I'm just not gonna do that again. I'm not gonna fake again.
Yeah.
And I'm really gonna pay attention when that does happen. I'm gonna like try to pay attention to what it is. Yeah.
Did you start dancing again?
I did. Yeah, I started dancing again, and I started assisting a couple friends of mine who were really well established. And so that put me in a position. I had moved in with somebody who we lived together for a good chunk of time. I went to Africa just a couple of months later because I got booked for a music video. So that was like in my mind seeming on the up and up because it's like, oh yeah, cool, I'm working.
Yeah.
And then that's when things started picking up.
Okay. And
then I started dancing with a couple other artists. And then, of course, you get with the right people. They see you doing stuff. Now they want you. So, and then I did end up getting in a relationship with that person. And then it was at the same time that I started working with another artist, with Saweetie, when she first started coming out. And that I think picked up too. Okay. That was something that put me on people's radar too, because it was like, okay, she's starting to come up. Yeah. And I worked with her for a good chunk of time. Like I was like a dancer on her team, and then and then I just started transitioning into more and more people and working with the choreographers in the background who work with multiple artists. Yeah. Then now I worked with you for this, now you're gonna bring me for this and that. And so then that's how I started getting to a flow of like, okay, Saweetie, oh my gosh, like Pharrell, Cardi, Megan, like that's how I started. It just started kind of flowing from there. Yeah. And then Normani,
now, during this time, when you're working with even bigger artists, did you find yourself again kind of being in this similar place as you were before, where you were, like, having to drink or smoke or do things you didn't, like, were you back in that place again, or were you kind of doing it differently that time?
I was definitely doing it differently because, I don't know if I would say I was doing it differently. I think I was trying to be more conscious of my decisions, and I was also open about, like, I would tell people I'm working with, I'm like, hey, sometimes, I don't know, I just deal with this palpitation thing. Like, if I do a lot of work, and the doctor was told by the doctor that I could potentially experience, like, heart failure. So, that's the thing. So if I need to take a break, like, it was just, so I'll just communicate that ahead of time. Okay. I would just say exactly what the doctor told me. Because at that point, I was like, I don't want to keep lying, but, like, the doctor did say this. So it's was that type of thing.
So you were kind of focusing on your health a little bit more, so you weren't, like, getting as wrapped into, like, all the things you'd done before that made you feel like a bad person or whatever.
Right.
But you still weren't, like, into Jesus or anything. No. You had just kind of you just kind of had that girl who, like,
I had that moment where I was told about him, but again, it went completely over my head. I didn't think about him after that. It was just like, oh, okay. But I did experience him, but I didn't have a name for it, and I didn't know it was him. So
how would you say you experienced him before you knew?
Well, the way that I felt loved.
Okay.
And the light and the goodness that I felt, especially in comparison to myself. I felt it. Like, I was like, oh no, whatever that is, that's the real thing. Like, that's good. Yeah. And I know I am not. I was very painfully aware of how I am not in comparison to it. And then, but also I wanted it in the sense of, I know I needed that. Like, I needed, and I had this idea in my mind that, okay, if I can get around it and close to it enough, then maybe it'll rub off on me. Okay. You know? Yeah. And so I know I'm not good by myself, but if that good, for whatever reason, wants me, then I'm gonna try my best to give myself to it. Okay. And hopefully, like, that was the way that I could try to identify that there is something good about me. But I knew that it was outside of me. Yeah. And to me, that was this person. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I'm finally drawn to this person. And it's crazy because I wasn't even intimately interested. Okay. I wasn't. I made myself do that. But it was not something that... Because what?
That was just how you worked it out in your head, like what it was.
Yeah, I was like, why else would I be here? And then at that point, I had a very hypersexual lifestyle.
Okay.
So, and an addict of all kinds.
Yeah.
Alcohol, anything to please and satisfy and gratify myself, I was doing it.
Yeah.
And so sex was one of those ways. And so I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with somebody and not doing that. Yeah. So it was like I needed that. Yeah. You know? And so, but I didn't desire that, actually. Okay. I really didn't. I just, it was so pure. Yeah. It was so pure. It was like, no, this is not that. I just felt like it was a deeper need that I needed, but I didn't know how to go about getting it. I just went in my own understanding of obtaining it, without also exposing myself, because it would require that too, and I didn't want to do that. So I tried to get Jesus without the confession. Okay. Without it being him directly. Yeah. And also without repentance, which all that stuff is needed. Yeah. First of all, it needs to be him. Yeah. And there needs to be a confession, and there needs to be a turn away from the other things to go to him. Yeah, so, and I was trying to get him without that. So I was really trying to go after Jesus in my flesh. Yeah. Yeah. And while still holding on to my flesh. Yeah. But we need the Spirit to do that. Like, there is no loving God without the Spirit of God to help you love him. Yeah. Because the flesh don't like him. But our soul, our spirit knows that we need him. Yeah. And so that's what I was feeling. So I was trying to go after Jesus in my own strength without knowing that it was him I was even after. So I was just in a ball of oblivion of confusion. Yeah. For the next 3.5 years. Oh wow. Yeah. As you were like doing all those big jobs. As my career started really taking off. Yeah. So now on the outside I'm like this shiny, successful, and I'm on the staircase to my goal, which was that I was just that girl that you just call, I don't have to audition. Yeah. And so I got there. Wow. Yeah. And then what finally happened? Because we know this is what we're waiting for to hear. Right. What was the big change? Like, what happened? I got to that place, right? I got to the place. I had the job, I had the relationship, I had the car, I had the house, I had the money, I had like the status, the friends, all the things. Like, it was in my head, I had reached my goal. And it was just one night, God just smacked me. He just like really smacked me one night. And it was kind of leading up a little bit. I had started to feel, because he picks at you, and he nudges. Yeah. He kind of he draws you in slowly but surely, right? And there's little tiny things. I could look at little tiny things. Like, even there was a couple secrets that I came clean about that was like, oh God, I would have never. And it wasn't even fully clean, but it was like I didn't tell the full thing. But it was like the fact that I even said that was kind of like, why did I do that? Like, but it was God. He was little by little starting to pick at me. So, one night specifically, though, it was like the top of 2021, like in January, February, something like that. And I just got overwhelmed with this awareness that I am exactly where I said I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I'm literally like, I'm over here complaining about the very person that I was like so like dying to work with. Yeah. That now I'm like talking about them like they casual people. Yeah. And like, where's my money, bro? Like, it's like I'm not even. Yeah. And it just hit me. Yeah. Where it's like, wait, whoa. I just kind of looked around and I was like, I'm here. Like, I have reached my goal. Yeah. And then I kind of thought about like, what would 18-year-old Makia think? Like, it just... And you were how old at that time? Around? 25. Okay. Yeah, I was 25. And then I was just like, I mean, I guess you would think I'm cool. But then... And then I got hit with another awareness that, like, I am a totally different person. Mm. I am doing things I would have never thought I'd do. Mm. I have done things I would have never thought I'd do. I am everything opposite of the type of person that I wanted to be, and never thought I'd become. Like, I be lying like it ain't nobody's business. And I'm good at it. I'm really good at it. And then I gossip about the very people that I smile in their face and like hang out with. I have money, but I be doing weird stuff with it. Like I just was like buying whatever, and I was not wise. I was so crazy and careless with my money. Like it didn't make no sense. And then I was at that point I wasn't drinking as much because I had slowed down and stopped a lot, but I also was like I wanted it though. I only stopped because this person that like, but like I wanted to. I was smoking. Never thought I'd smoke. That was like the one thing I was like, I'm not gonna smoke. I don't know why. I just put it above everything else. Like it was the worst. But I was like, I be smoking. Like I was like, and I'm so insecure. I just was the most insecure I have ever been in my life, and I was aware of how I was viewed, and I was viewed as just this like pretty, shiny, successful, happy go like this thing, and I it was like I could see myself from the outside looking on, and it's like she looked like she got it, and I'm like I am so insecure, it's crazy. And I knew how insecure I was because I had found myself jealous.
Wow.
And I don't get jealous.
Because you had reached all your goals, who were you jealous? Not like you have to say a specific person, but like why were you jealous? What
it was actually in my relationship.
Oh.
I had came up with this idea that that my partner would like somebody.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I thought that was because this person that I felt like my partner would like was, to me, they represented somebody who was actually genuinely somebody who was trying to do the right thing and who was doing the right thing. This was somebody who, they did smoke, they did party, they did do all the things, but now they didn't. And they genuinely did not go out. They did not, because they were really trying to just get clean, and it wasn't something that they were doing because of anybody else. This was a decision that they made. And to me, that was what I wanted to be.
Yeah, but you felt like you weren't that, so they were going to find someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I was like, and I know this person probably wouldn't be hiding everything I'm hiding from you.
Yeah.
I got secrets. Yeah. You don't even know.
So you like knew that it could all explode and leave you.
Yeah, and I was like, if you knew what I'm hiding from you, bro. Like, if you knew, like, if you just knew, like, if you knew for real who you're living with, you would run for the hills, and as you should, because I would, but I can't because I'm stuck with me. You know, so it was like, yeah, so that just smacked me in a moment. Like, all that smacked me in like a single moment, and the best way that I could, and I was overwhelmed with it. It just all came to a head, and I needed to get something off my chest. I tried to express myself, and it's crazy because I felt the tug of the Lord be like, you know, talk, like, get it out, you gotta get this out. But I couldn't expose myself still, so I came out in me saying like, I don't know, I just feel like you would like her. And that's how it came out. And so then we're in this back and forth conversation.
Of like setting them up with someone else? What do you mean?
No, like a conversation. I literally started a conversation.
Of your jealousy.
Yeah, and I was just like, I just feel like you would like them. Okay. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't know. It was very random. Yeah. So she was confused. Yeah. She was like, what are you talking about? And why would you say that? Like, where's that coming from?
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to tell you about my new book, The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010. This is my very first memoir. There will be more. It's not like a normal memoir where you're looking back on your life and reflecting on it and writing a book about it. It's more like a memoir in real time. So basically, when I very first moved to LA to pursue acting, which was in 2009, I decided I was going to write these like monthly newsletters where I sent out actual letters in the actual mail to a bunch of my friends every month to give them updates on what I was doing with acting and jobs and friendships and all kinds of things that I was going through my very first time ever living in LA. It ended up being pretty humorous, and so I've basically gone back and edited them so that I could publish them. as a book. So that's what this is. And yeah, if you want to be entertained and have a good laugh, buy my book. Or if you just want to help me pay my rent next month. Oh, and you can get it on Amazon. The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010 by Tracy Nicole. Nicole is my middle name. Also, there's a link in my Instagram bio. You can get it paperback or on Kindle.
I was just like, I couldn't tell her the depth of what was going on without exposing myself. So I was just like, I don't know. I just feel like this and I feel like that and blah, 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 blah. But it was me trying to express the fact that I am a terrible person and I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. And I just feel like they wouldn't do that to you. Nobody would treat you the way that I'm treating you. You don't even know how I'm treating you.
Yeah.
You know, like, and because remember, this person represented what was good in my life. Like, my goodness depended on this person in my life. And so if I'm doing this person wrong, I'm like, throw me to hell. Like, that was how serious it was for me. But it was literally, no, I feel the goodness of a holy God. And I know that I am not, I don't deserve this. Yeah. Like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
you were
so
feeling the weight of your
depth.
sin, but like you didn't understand the way out of that.
Yeah. And
like,
so I understood somewhere that I deserve the pit of hell.
Yeah.
I am dead. And I literally said, like the way I articulated was like, I feel like I'm a walking carcass. Like, I was just dead.
Yeah.
I was dead. I was so dead in my sin. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have the language for it. And so I felt the death in my sin. I knew that I needed to confess, but I did not understand the message of grace and forgiveness. I did not know that. And so I'm trying to reach for something because I couldn't take it. Like, I was literally being choked up, right? But trying to reach for some type of relief, but going about it in my own way. And it just came out in a very confusing way. But God is so good because he heard my heart cry. He heard the soul cry in the midst of me not making no sense.
Yeah.
She confused, but God knew.
Yeah.
God knew what was going on. And that goes with that. He'll meet you where you're at. Like, if you don't know even where to begin on what to say, just start talking.
Yeah.
It don't gotta make sense. God knows. God understands. But if you feel that tug and you're just like, bro, something's wrong. And something's wrong with me. Especially when you become aware that something's wrong with you and you can't get away from you and you're just stuck with that, just start talking. It doesn't need to make any sense. And I think that once we let go of that need to understand, because that's really what it is. We always got to feel like we got to get it before we move on it or say it or something. It's like that need for control. It's a pride. And it's like once you even take a step, like a teeny, it could be even a look in the opposite direction of pride. He's right there.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So we were going in that conversation for like few hours, right? Finally we done. We're like, okay, I'm tired. And we go to the dispensary and it takes us like 10 minutes to get there. We get there, there's usually a lot of people outside. It's this old dispensary by Debbie Reynolds Studio, if anybody knows, but it's gone now. Or the studio's gone now, but so I don't even know. But so we're in NoHo and we lived in North Hills at the time, and like a 10-minute drive. I get there, nobody's outside, usually it's packed. We park right outside the front door, right on the street, like literally the car's here, you're inside. And we park and we just sit and we talk. We end up just talking. I don't even know how this came up. But now I can't even say, we know that it's God that uses people.
Yeah.
Right? But it was totally him. So I can't even give the person any credit at all because he asked me through this person, right? I don't even know how this came up.
Wait, who were you? Were you with your partner there talking to them, but another person
car
came up?
No. God came up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
So we're in the car. It's just me and them.
Oh, okay.
And then they asked me, "Do you know who God is?"
Oh.
And now I know that was full up. That was straight up him.
Yeah.
Right? But he's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, yeah. Talk to you all the time, right? That's my homie. That's my friend. I talk to him all the time. And then, I'm asked, well, who is he? And was about to come up with an answer because that's what I do, right? That's what I did. Because I'm not finna look stupid. But it was in that moment that I heard the Lord's voice, heard the Lord's voice for the first time, very clearly, and he basically was just like, it's okay that you don't know, you know, like, and you can say that,
yeah,
like you're safe,
yeah,
and I just knew that I was safe to just go ahead and say I don't know, and so I did, and I was like, you know what, I don't know.
Even the way you say it is still like,
yeah, it was like. And then I really thought about it, and I was like, and now we're on the topic. I actually have a lot of questions. About this whole God topic.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then it
now
was like,
were they trying to follow God, or what was?
Well, no. I mean, no.
Okay.
I think, like I said, God is patient.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, like, they were on their own journey.
Yeah.
And figuring it out.
Yeah.
And so that is just, God is just so patient, and he's so merciful too.
Yeah.
Like, his mercy is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful to this day that, you know, he allowed them to go through the journey that they needed to go through, because it did end up leading to me figuring it out, like, you know, getting him. So yeah, so yes and no.
Okay.
But no, because not walking at all.
Yeah.
You know, like, we were on a whole lifestyle together, and not even just a homosexual lifestyle. Like, no, like, there was so much pride, there was so much self-righteousness, there was so much self-seeking, selfish, like, it was just not God.
Yeah.
Right? It was a conglomerate of
Yeah.
stuff, right? But yeah, but they knew enough. The gospel is not a lot of information. It's not at all. You don't need a lot to get that message.
Yeah.
It's easy for a 5-year-old to accept it, right?
Yeah.
He makes it very simple. You don't need much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, okay, well, who is he? And I was like, you know what? I actually got other questions. And my main questions was just like, God, I don't even know about that name. Like, where'd that name come from? Like, who named it that, right? And then he, I don't know, is it even a he? Is it a it, a she, a they, or what energy, or whatever? And then it was like, Christians are very weird. Very weird. They were very weird to me. And so I was just like, I don't know, a bunch of robots. And I don't feel God's love over there. I just didn't. And so then, and then the Bible, I was not sure about that, because I was like, I don't trust white people, and they mess with everything. So I was raised to believe that the Bible was corrupted. So I was like, I don't know, even though I never read it, but it was just like, I just was like, nah, I just don't trust them. And so I was like, is that you? I don't know. And then, but there was also this very strong understanding of something in my life that I did know was good.
Yeah.
And it did love me, and it did protect me, because I should have been dead so many times.
Yeah.
But it protected me. It took care of me. As much as I've just been, even in LA alone, in my early 20 life, like, I have been protected somehow, because there was something, and I do talk to it. And I know it listens to me, and I know I can feel its heart towards me, like, whatever it is. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I know it's good, and I know that it loves me, and I know it protects me, and I know it's been with me my whole life. And I have a relationship with it. I just can't tell you what it is. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then, you know, they just listened, and it was like, okay, let me ramble on. And then they was just like, you know, if you ask him to reveal himself to you, he will. And I had never heard that before. I never thought to ask it to reveal itself. Yeah. So I was just like, and I trusted this person.
Yeah.
So I believed that what they said was telling me was true. And then they go into telling me when they did it. And it was that same story.
Oh, wow.
So they retell me this story while we're sitting.
Yeah.
About the whole questions and all the answers on the paper. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like, so they tell me the story, and I'm excited, because I'm like, ooh, pulling up with
I want
answers.
A cool story, and
I got questions. So I run my questions back. I stop talking to her. I immediately turn, and I'm just like, and we're sitting in the car just like this.
Yeah.
I immediately turn, and I'm just like, all right, check this out. I want to know.
Wow.
And I talked to him directly. I was just like, God, if that is your name. I don't know. I just started ripping it. Like, and It's crazy because I think back now and I'm like, girl, you did not know who you're talking to. But I meant it.
Yeah.
I meant it. Like, I was ready to know. And as soon as, she said, if you ask him to reveal himself to you and he will, I thought, I considered if I really wanted to know for a second. And I was like, I want to know. I'm ready to know. I think I want to be sure about this. I've been okay with not knowing for real. I want to know. And so I wanted to know. And, Jesus is good. He's patient. And he remembers that we are but dust. And he also did give me a boldness that works out when it's used for him. When it's used for him, it works very well. Okay. But so I was very bold in my request. I did not ask. I demanded. And I challenged him. And I was like, are you a he? Christians, they weird. Are those your people? The Bible, is that you? Is it you really? Is it your word? I don't know. Questionable. And then I was like, now this thing that I do know, and you know that I know that we know, I'm talking to you, right? And I was like, are you the same thing? I was like, I can't tell you what you are, but I know you know that I'm talking to you. Are you the same thing? Like, I know you love me. I know you're good. I know you've been praying. Like, I know this about you, but I can't. I was like, are you the same thing? Is that you? And I was going off. I was like, drop a tornado. I was taunting him.
Yeah.
I was like, God of the universe?
Yeah.
Hurricane in California, do it.
What?
Right now. Right now. I dare you. Because I literally was like, you could kill me. If you're really God, you can kill me and bring me back. It was like simple to me. Yeah. And I was like, I want to meet you face to face. I'll meet you face to face to know. And I was very confident that he was going to answer because of what I was told. Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. Ready when you are.
So what happened?
And then they were just like, I'm like going off too. I was going nonstop ripping. And they was just like, by the time I finished, I look over and she's like leaned over on the other side. Like,
she's like, what is happening? Wow.
Like, she's trying not to be close to me when I get struck. Like, it was like that type of thing. And I was just like, what? And she was like, Phew. She's like, it's about to get crazy. And I was like, that, I felt like a fear kind of rise up when she said that. But then I was like, I want crazy. Like, I want crazy. I'm crazy, so give me crazy. Like, I want something crazy because I want to know and I want to be sure. And so then she was like, all right. And then we get out the car, go into the dispensary. Usually there's like a whole line, right? I don't know if you're familiar with dispensaries, but it's like going to visit somebody in jail. You got to show your ID. They got to buzz you in. You got to wait. It's like a capacity limit with all the things. We go in there. There's nobody in the front. Go to show our ID. She don't even look at it. She's like, go ahead. Buzzes us right in. We go straight to the back. It is a party in the back. Like, it's like so many people. There's a capacity limit normally. Like, you got to wait to get for somebody to leave so you can go in. We go back. It's jumping. It was like a whole party. There's music videos on the TV. People smoking. People just hanging out, chilling. The lines is long. It was so weird. I was like, and we even said at the time, we was like, looked at each other like, whoa, okay, party. Sure.
People don't usually like hanging out there. You're just getting it.
Like, why are you in here hanging out? Why are you kicking it in this dispensary? Go home. You got what you need. Leave. But no, like, people was just there. I don't know if they was having a special. I don't know what's going on. So I go to the fridge and we was drinking the edibles, right? So I go to get this juice. I like pack it, like literally like holding a baby. Like, I got like 5 bottles in my hand. And she's still looking at something in the counter and like some gummies or something. So I'm just kind of waiting for her. I still, to this day, I cannot remember if I paid or not. But I may have went to the cash register and paid, and then I was waiting for her. But I also feel like I did it because I was waiting to see if she was going to get something. So then I don't know. Anyway, I'm standing there waiting for her, and I just turn around. I had no reason to turn around, but I turn around. I turn around, bro. And the first person I see is the guy who wrote all that stuff on that paper.
How'd you know it was him?
Because I know who he is. She told me.
Oh, she told you, and you know him. Okay.
So she had retold me that story in the car, right?
Yeah.
And then at that point, I really heard it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I remember when you brought that paper. But she retells me while we're sitting in the car. And so we were just talking about him not even 20 minutes ago.
Right.
So I turn around and he's the first person I see.
Wow.
And I was like...
He's like, here's your paper.
Okay, right. Oh, girl.
What happened?
I probably would have just passed out right there. But no, I see him, and I'm just like, my whole world stops.
Wow.
Like, literally, it was like, I didn't even feel like I was looking at a person.
Yeah.
It was the fear of God struck.
Wow.
I didn't even want to go near him. She turns around, she sees him, she's just like, bro, like, what? And then he sees us, he's like, oh, yo, what's up? Because he don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So he's just like, what's up? And we're like, oh my gosh. Like, and at that point, I didn't say nothing. I couldn't talk. It was
now,
like, literally.
Is he a Christian?
Listen, God can use a donkey.
No, totally.
Okay?
But he had all these answers about God.
God just used him.
For sure. I'm just trying to follow. That's so crazy.
I know, it's crazy. And so, he's oblivious. He's always oblivious to what's going on, but God is using him. So, I don't know. And when he did the whole writing on the paper, he said, like, the Lord just put this on my heart to write, and I have no idea what any of this is and what it means.
Oh,
he just started reading it.
Yeah.
And then she was like, that's for me. And then she tells them.
Oh, okay.
That's every single answer to every question I had asked. And so it's just like, whoa, okay. I don't know what God be doing with this man. I don't know what that man be doing with God. But he uses the man. That's all I know. And so, yeah, then so then I'm looking at him. He looking at us, talking about, yo, what's up? How you guys doing? I can't talk. She answers. She's like, we're good. Like, how are you? Like, and pulling me closer to the point where, like, my legs were like this. Like, I didn't even want to get close.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying nothing the whole time. They're having the conversation. It's like, yo, so how you been? Like, you know, how you guys doing? It's like, we're good. How are you? He's like, oh, I'm good. Like, you know, he asked, like, you guys come here? And then she was like, yeah, you know, this is our spot. He's like, okay, that's cool. This is my first time here. I was like, oh, what is it?
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay. And then he's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, yo, we come here all the time. Like, literally, this is our spot. And he was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, you know, I got a dispensary by my house I always go to. And then it was like, okay, cool. And he's like, but mind you, nobody's asking him nothing. He's just talking.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I left my house. And I just, I don't know, I got outside, I just felt like going for a walk. And I was like, you felt like going for a walk at almost 12 a.m.? What are you talking about? And it's not even warm outside. It's like January, February. It was cold. And I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And then she was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. Where do you live? He was like, like 20 minutes from here.
Wow.
And it was just like, I got this like download.
Wow.
And it was the Lord. And he was like, all right, so you were supposed to be here hours ago because that was just the plan, right? But you got caught in this conversation going back and forth for a few hours at home. Then you leave, get here like 10 minutes. You get here, nobody's in the front, so you can park right outside the door. But then you don't even go inside. You sit in the car for like 45, 50 minutes just talking.
Yeah.
20 minutes ago, you started talking about him. He left his house when we started talking about him.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then it took less than 2 minutes to get inside, which never happens. Like, we walked straight to the back. It didn't probably even take a full minute, maybe. But to the point where we walked through, and I'm at the front desk, just for me to turn around, and him to be perfectly right there. He had to have walked in right after us.
Yeah.
And we didn't see him coming down the street.
Yeah.
And he didn't see us.
Yeah.
For us to walk right by. And for him to perfectly be standing right there when I come to that spot to turn around and he'd be right there. I was so overwhelmed and blown by the way that worked out so timely, like the timeliness of it. I literally got so scared and I couldn't take it. And finally I say something and I was like, all right, it was nice to see you. Bye. And I just beelined out. Wow. I left. I was just like, all right, cool. Nice, cool. I was like, all right, I'm out. And I left. And then, like, to the point where she's like, oh, okay, sorry, bye. Like, she was, like, chasing me out. And I just beelined out. I couldn't be there anymore. Like, and it's crazy to know now to have the language and just, like, the weight of God's presence and the glory of that I can't take it. I had to go. I had to get out. And Yeah, bro, it was wild. And so it was just like, I asked for a tornado. I asked for a hurricane, and God knew what was a tornado and a hurricane for me, and it was that. And it
I'm glad
shook
it wasn't
me up.
an actual
Yeah.
hurricane.
Yeah, I don't. It's like, who do I think I am, asking God to open the heaven gates for me, blow up these people's house just so I can know you got it. I don't know.
He
who
knew
I
that's
think
not
I
what
am.
you really wanted.
He said, you don't want that. You don't want. I'm not doing that.
He knew.
I got a tornado.
This is what
for
I
you.
think is cool about God. I mean, so many things, but he knows what's going to blow each of our minds.
Yes.
He knew that was going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I have a million stories like that where I could tell it to someone and they may or may not think it's super cool, but God knew that was blowing my mind, and that's how it was going to show up for me.
Yeah.
I was going to see him.
Yeah.
Like, so that's, like, amazing. That's
for
so cool.
a fact.
So what happened? So what happened?
So then we
after
leave. Bro, we get to the car. We go outside, and she's freaking out. She's like, bro. And I'm like, I couldn't talk. Like, I just was, like, stuck. I was so stuck, and I was just like I had nothing. And it was to the point where she's like, I knew he was gonna answer you, but that was fast. Like, like she's like, I knew, but bro, like, what? She was freaking out, because mind you, she's witnessing God move too. So this was not just for me, it was for her too, right? Because God set it up that way. So she's freaking out, and she's able to register it better because she had her encounter.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
it's like this is the first time in my life I've ever experienced something like this. I wasn't even raised in this. Like, this is smacking me. Like, what is this? And we get in the car. It got to a point where I had to tell her, like, hey, can you stop? Like, can you just calm down? And she was like, okay, sorry. And I'm sitting there. We're on our way home, and it's quiet. And I'm just sitting there in my thoughts. And it's like the second time I heard the Lord very clearly. He ran back, like, what I said. You know, I was reminded, like, okay, you asked me, like, am I God? Is that my name? You know, like, am I he? And Christians, are they mine? You know, Bible, is that me? Like, and it was like I was hearing exactly what I was saying, you know. And am I the same thing that you have felt your whole life, that you know loves you and protects you, has been with you, and is good? And then I heard that, and then clear as day, I had never read the Bible at that point, and clear as day, I heard I am.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was just like, and I just remember hearing that, and like everything in me was just like, ugh. Like, I just felt like a break, like something broke, and I was just like, whoa.
Did you cry?
Whoa. It did something. I didn't cry because it was just like, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't there yet. I was still had an image.
You just felt something.
But it was just like internally, it was just like a break and a release. Like, something broke.
Yeah.
And it was like spiritually something broke. And I just was like, I remember like even like it escaped my mouth a little bit. Like, I was just like, ugh. And I just remember I was sitting there and I was just in the car like this. I was thinking, and in my mind, just with the Lord, and I was conscious of who was in my mind with me now for the first time in my life. Yeah. So it was just like, so now I'm having this internal conversation, and I'm just like, I felt the invitation. I was so aware of the invitation, and it was like, all right, you challenged me. And I answered, I responded.
Wow.
So now it's your play.
Yeah.
It's your turn. It's like balls in your court. It was almost like a chess game.
Yeah.
And I was learning how to play chess at the time, which is crazy. And yeah, it was like, all right, you came to me and I responded, and now it's your turn to respond. And it was this invitation of like, what you gonna do, you know? And so that night I started reading the Bible because I was like, oh, bet.
Did you have one?
She had one.
Oh, okay.
We had one in the house.
Yeah.
So it worked out. And it was an NIV, so it was like, okay, I can understand this a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but he definitely opened up my eyes. But the only thing is, nobody reads a book the third way through. So I did not go to the Gospels. I read from Genesis because
That's what you would think. You start at the beginning is what you think. But,
right.
Yeah.
But God is so real, and Jesus still is the Word become flesh. So he still opened up my eyes, and he interpreted the Word. The Holy Spirit did what only the Holy Spirit could do. And he, I knew what I was reading. Like, wow. I was like, I know people like this. Yeah. That makes sense. And I had my twirl in the world enough to where now I'm reading this, and I'm like, it's clicking where it's like, no, they don't want us to read this because this exposes everything. This is so true.
Yeah.
I was like, this is true.
Yeah, Genesis honestly probably was a good place for you to start because there's so many stories of just craziness.
And it gets right into it. Yeah. And I was like, this is actually the only explanation for everything that's so crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. And it made so much sense. Like, and I saw myself. I got so convicted.
Wow.
But I was not ready.
Okay.
To confess nothing because I also wasn't getting a clear message of dying and Jesus dying for the forgiveness of our sins and knowing that I could get that forgiveness through confession.
Yeah.
Confession to me meant exposing, and I'm like, I'm chopped liver. Like so I didn't get the message of grace and forgiveness, but that didn't register. But Holy Spirit did something and I was hungry. Mm. All I wanted to do was read.
Wow.
All I wanted to do was read the Bible. That was it. I wanted it so bad. Had I been by myself, actually, I don't even know. I probably could have read that whole thing in one sitting. I really could have. I was up. You know, the Bible makes you tired a little bit. The devil, okay? The flesh and the enemy don't like when you get in the word, so they be like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Better than NyQuil, I swear. So it's like, but I was up. Wow. I had such a supernatural hunger, and it's crazy because, I'm coming from a place where I was literally dead, and I had finally got something that's what I was actually after. So when I got that taste, it was like, oh, I could feast on this for the rest of my life. Like, it was like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But I was so intertwined with this person that, like, if they didn't want to read, then I wouldn't.
Okay.
So, like, we did everything together, right? And this was my idol. This is my God at this point, right? I'm so intertwined with this person. And so, like, I would fall off if she didn't want to, then I wouldn't. Or, like, and then, of course, I started getting even more booked because then I get busy. Because, of course, he don't do nothing new. He's so late. But... yeah, so then I started getting more busy, and then I just started falling off. But I actually Googled what a Christian was at the time, and Google said somebody who believes in the Word of God. And I was like, that's me. I guess I'm a Christian then. So that's how I seen it. And then, fast forward some months later in April, we got into a really bad car accident that it was all my fault. I should have died. I should have killed everybody and died. It was bad. It was bad. I was going like 60-something on a regular road, rushing for a rehearsal. I was late. I was going through a yellow light, person ahead going left didn't see me coming. And so I almost T-boned him, kind of smacked to the side a little bit. My mom was in town. My whole car, like, was this direction and then was flipped to oncoming traffic that way. Their car was, like, turned and parallel parked across the street. My whole front end of the car was smashed. It was a 2020 Hyundai Elantra. It was just 2021. So it was a brand new car, 6,000 miles on it.
Wow. Who was in the car with you?
My mom. And,
she was?
Yeah, my girlfriend at the time. And... yeah, she didn't have no seatbelt on. She slid behind the car. You got these? No. But you know that hard, this? Like the hard that's behind the seats? Uh-huh. She broke through, her knees broke through the plastic. Yeah. Oh, wow. And then my mom, she had a bruise of a seatbelt going like this across. Like, that's how hard the impact was. Dang. I slammed on the brakes so hard that, like, something happened, like, shifted, and, like, my whole hip and everything, my back, because she smacked into my back, and then my tooth went in my lip, like, and it was a brand new car, so there's, like, airbags everywhere. Oh, man. So I'm getting smacked, and,
that's so scary.
It was bad.
Oh, my gosh.
It was bad.
So was everybody, like, in the hospital? Like, what happened?
We walked away with scratches and bruises.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was God.
Oh, my gosh.
It was God. And then we crashed in front of a church called the First Christian Church. Look at that. Jesus is real.
I'm going to take my bruises and walk right into there. No.
Right.
But, like, what? Okay, so what?
So then that happened, and you would think that I would have a coming to Jesus moment. Nope, didn't happen. I felt the guilt. I felt the conviction. Still ran from it. Wasn't ready to confess and be exposed just yet. Because, again, fear Fear and shame was behind the pride. It's
Yeah.
a lot of pride, so much pride. But there's when people are prideful, there can be a genuine like selfishness behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there can also just be like really intense shame.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting this on because I don't want you to see what's behind.
Yeah.
You know, or God forbid you do see what's behind. There's a fear of what your responses and reactions is going to be. Like a fear, it could be loneliness, abandonment, rejection, whatever it is, right? So much. There's so many layers.
Yeah.
But for me, I found out that it was a lot of shame because of everything that I had become that I never thought I would. And I prided myself on being a good person and having good intentions. And I found out that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so that was like terrible. My identity was, who am I, right? But I needed to have a sense of identity, as we all do. And so I created one, and it was a false one. And it was all really dependent on this good that I was trying to be. I was trying to be what I thought was good, and what this person wanted, and I wanted to be what they thought I was, but I knew deep down I wasn't, because I'm living a whole double life.
Yeah.
And so, wasn't ready yet. And then fast forward a couple months later, I do a job that was just one of the most degrading jobs that I felt like I was ever a part of. And I just realized, like, I'm on live TV, and I'm like worried if like I'm about to be exposed and pop out of my costume.
Oh man.
It was like I'm bent over, like it was. And then even the whole process of the job, it was just grimy. Everything about it was grimy. It was so selfish, and it was just greedy and disrespectful, very inconsiderate of just everybody around, and a lot of anger and just like deception and easily disposing of people. Like it was like, it just was, everything about it was just wrong.
Yeah.
And it was just the epitome of what the world is. And I was in the muck of it. And I just after I finished, and I did it because it was an easy check. That was the reason I did it.
Yeah.
And I recognized that, and I was like, I will never do something like that for a check ever again in my life. And that was a part of God. Now, mind you, I'm reading the Bible every now and then. I started falling off, but like I went to Hawaii for my sister's birthday that same year, like just some months later, and I'm like, I want to read a scripture in the sand. Like, I'm still doing all this stuff, but in private, I'm reading the Bible. Yeah. I'm doing stuff. I'm calling myself a Christian secretly, low key, because I think I know what it is. And it's like, all because of this confirmation that I got when God revealed himself to me. And I believe it with my whole chest. Yeah. But I'm still doing things. Yeah. I'm not publicly proclaiming. I'm starting to talk about Jesus because I'm reading the Bible now. So it's like, whoa, wait, this is what happened at the resurrection? Like, I'm like, when he died, the whole earth went black and rocks cracked by themselves? Wait, are you serious? Like, why did nobody tell me that? It's like, no, like, what? This gotta, you guys, this is crazy. Like, it's like, I'm starting to have those conversations, but I still hadn't received him yet. So it's like, I'm still in my carnal mind a little bit, but God is doing what only God could do. The word is still doing what the word does, right? So I'm getting convicted. Little things. I started telling the truth about stuff. I stopped lying. I stopped, like, it was just little things that only I would know that was happening. Like, the Lord, only me and the Lord knew. And bro, and I did that job, and I felt so, it was like, this is the lowest of low. And I know I feel dirty just alone, but this is beneath. Yeah. This is beneath. And it just, I don't know, there's something about it. And it didn't make it any worse than any other job or anything I've ever done. It just was when I felt it. Yeah. And agreed that it is dirty and I don't want to do this. So that was my first job that God allowed me to feel it and then come into agreement that, no, I don't want that. Yeah. And so that was the turning point where I was like, I'm only going to do commercial stuff from now. I'm done with industry stuff. Like, that was him allowing me. And then I also was exposed to the reality of the people that I did consider very close to me at the time, and just be able to see where they were at in their life with their intentions and the way that they were moving, and experience what I witnessed be done to other people get done to me. And so Yeah, but it's no personal thing against them. It was just like, well, not anymore, because God has dealt with that, right? He has helped me to forgive, but it's because it's the perspective of like, Makia, you were doing the same thing, because there is a deep desperation of the need for validation, the need to even survive. People are really moving off survival mode all the time, and it happens that we all get caught in their crossfire of their desperate pursuit for what they need, which is what God put in us. But God fulfills it. And so everybody's just going after it in a very selfish way. So I got caught in the crossfire of that, and it sucks. And so I was like, I swore off. I was like, the one place that I thought I was cool in the industry, I don't want it no more. So now I was like, done with that. I'm only doing commercial stuff. Boom. Out of nowhere, I get a commercial audition. And I didn't go looking for it.
Yeah.
It was just, as soon as the switch was made and I was in agreement with it, it came. And then to this day, I stand by this, and Jesus, you are my witness. That is the first job that I believe that God himself brought to me and booked me for.
Wow.
Because it was clean.
Okay.
It was a Samsung commercial.
Okay.
It was the very last job I did. And it was the first job I believe that God himself gave me. You know?
Well, and because you got those royalties, right? Finally, or whatever, you got paid more. And
I wasn't booked as a principal dancer. I was supposed to just get like a different type of pay.
Okay.
But what ended up happening was I got to, and this is why it's so God, and he's so good and he's so cool. I get booked for it. I have favor with the choreographer. I get formatted, or I get placed in the formation where I'm just seen more. I'm in the front, but I'm not a principal dancer. Contract wise, I got to dress myself. I got to pick my own outfit, so I got to dress how I want to dress. And then, and it was all my clothes.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like using nobody else's stuff. Like I got to dress myself how I want to be dressed, how Makia would want to dress. And it involved me in a baggy shirt and some overalls and these shoes. And I got to do my hair how I want, because I do my own hair. And it was just like, I feel so good.
Yeah.
Like, this feels good. And I was fully covered, which is what I wanted. And then the choreography was clean. I got to dance, like really dance, which was cool. I'm not doing like booty shaking stuff, and I'm not half naked. Like, it was like, cool, great, this is fun, like, great. And then I was able to get placed in the formation where I'm seen more. Now, when they do that for a commercial, they have to pay you according to how much you're seen. So then I got bumped up to the pay of a principal dancer because of how much I was seen. So it was just God's favor was all over it. And then literally not even 2 weeks later, he comes in through my partner's family and was like, basically, if I gotta come rip you out that house myself, I will.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, what happened?
Like, Jesus made himself clear to us. Now, mind you, I didn't know God as Jesus yet, but he made himself clear that he wanted her to himself. Okay. And he wanted me to himself. Okay. And so through her family, they basically were like, that whatever you guys got going on over there has to end. Okay. And that was like a conversation that was going back and forth for a couple of days. But then, it just, towards the end of it, realized like, nah, this is God. I knew enough about, like, we were aware of him enough to be like, nah, this is him. So it's time for this to end, right? And it's crazy because I got the peace from the Lord too, that it was like, it's time for this to end. And we were clear. We're very clear. And it's interesting because nothing about sexuality was brought up. Yeah. What God was making clear was, I want you to myself. Yeah. That was it. That was the message. And in order for him to have me to himself, anything that was in the way had to move. It had to go. And that was this relationship. She had to go. And the same thing for her. You know, like, I want her to myself. So if you really want to love her, you need to let her go. And so that was just clear to both of us. And that's what it was. It was not like, you guys are both girls and you're being gay. No, it was, no, I just want you. Yeah. and anything that's in the way of me having you, I want it gone, and I need you to agree with that. Like, let it go. And so then after living together for 4 years, started packing up. And
that's a long time. That's a big deal to leave that situation.
Yeah, and we were friends for like over 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a deep rooted thing that, you know, God has been so patient, and the way that he's been uprooting that and like dealing with that and healing it even. But yeah. So, but it was within that week that our conversations got a little different because, you know, clearly Jesus is making himself very, very, very clear and apparent. And so, yeah, like she even started sleeping downstairs after. Like, it was like we didn't even sleep together after that conversation, after we decided like, okay, this is gonna happen. Decided like got a week to move out, and then within that week a lot of truth came out, a lot of secrets came out, mine, but then also just our conversation shifted because the Lord was more present and more invited and welcome in the space. And I had decided like, well, if I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do this, right? And so I had made the decision like, okay, I don't know what me going to be with God looks like, but okay, what I do know is that my whole life is in opposition to him, and I don't know if I can keep doing that and be with him. So
even though you felt like that last job you did was from God, did you have the idea of like, maybe he would keep giving me jobs like that?
Oh, yeah. In that realm, yes. Yeah. Like clean jobs, stuff like that. I was thinking, I could still keep doing it with him in this way. And I actually got an audition for a job in Seattle. Oh. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is God's way of taking me home. Yeah. I'm going to just leave LA and I'm just going to keep doing it. Maybe I didn't know I could do this in Seattle. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, well, if I'm not going to work because dancing was my whole career, my whole life, then maybe I could just go home and live with my dad because I know my dad would take care of me. Okay. And my dad was in a place where he financially could do that. Okay. So, and my dad... That's my dad. That's my best friend. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I can go live with my dad. I'm his baby. He'll take care of me. Aww. And I'll just be able to focus on God. Yeah. Like, that was like... Yeah. And I got a free trip home, and I got a job when I get there. So it was like, Jesus is so cool. Not Jesus, God, you're so cool. And then it was like, but then I didn't get the job, and it was just didn't happen. But again, that week is important because, like I said, our conversations was different. And she asked me during that week, have you ever asked Jesus to come into your heart? And I had never heard that in my life. I didn't even admit that at the time because still pride, right? Still not ready to admit stuff. But I was like, I called on him before. But in my mind, I'm like, I ain't never heard those words. Yeah. Choreographed into a sentence like that. Right? A whole dancer. And I was just like, I've never heard that. Like, ask Jesus to come.
It is a really weird phrase. It's a very if you weird question. Raised, like, I was raised with that phrase, but it is like, it sounds. I'm like, really
what are you
crazy.
Talking about? And so I didn't understand it, but I was like, no, those words exactly. I've never heard that, and I've definitely never said it. Like, I didn't even know you could do that. And then a couple of days later, more truth comes out. Not even the full truth, but enough to wreck me. Yeah. Right? And enough to expose what needs to be exposed for me to get to where I need to get. And it was about 3 a.m. in my bedroom. And I was crying out to him. I was very, very, very much so aware of my sin. And I knew still didn't have the language, but I knew that I could not fix what I broke. And I knew I broke it. Mm-hmm. I knew I broke it. And there was even more that wasn't exposed that I knew about. Yeah. That was like, there's more. Like, that's not even, like, there's more. Like, and I was wrecked. I cried. I went from, and my family can testify to this. I say this all the time. I cried maybe like once or twice a year. Wow. I did not cry. That wasn't a thing. I just wouldn't cry. Very hard. And I cried like I had never cried in my life. Like, when I tell you everything was pouring, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my ears, if they could. Like, it was buckets, just buckets of tears and liquid and mucus coming out of my face. And even now, it's like, that was a moment of deliverance because it didn't make sense how much was coming out. And but I'm crying, and I knew enough about God. I talked to him. I had a very clear articulation of who he was, enough to talk to him directly, and knew who I was talking to. And this is God of the Bible, right? And he's the same thing. So and actually prior to that, I was talking to him. I would go on walks in the morning. I started waking up at like 5, 6 in the morning, and I took it as an invitation to go just be with him alone, because I knew who I was talking to.
Yeah.
And I started crying to him.
Okay.
And I was crying out, and I didn't know what I was crying out about, but there was a deep cry that was starting to happen. But it was something I was doing privately.
Yeah.
Every morning with him. I would just go for a walk at like 6 in the morning, and I would go sit at this elementary school by my house, and it's COVID, so it's like everything shut down. So I could go to an elementary school in the morning and cry my face off to God of the universe, who's God of the Bible, who has revealed himself to me. So I know now.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just need help. I just was calling out for help and help and help, but I was doing that in private.
Yeah.
And then, so now fast forward 6 months later, I have this moment in my bedroom at 3 in, and I'm crying, and I'm just like, I need help. Like, and I was so aware that if I did not, like, I literally felt like I was going to die. Like, in that moment, I was like, I will die right now. I will just combust, because I can't fix it. Like, I'm so broken, and everything is so broke, and I'm the one who broke it. I can't fix it. If you don't come help me right now, I will literally die. Not like I'm gonna kill I'm just gonna die. Like, something's gonna happen, and I'm just gonna die. Like, I was so close to death. Like, I felt the death. It was so real. It was like, literally, I'm at hell's gates. And if you don't come and get me, if you don't do something, I don't even know what I'm asking, just help me.
Was it partly because after you didn't get that job in Seattle, and you were like, what am I doing with my life? Or it had nothing to do with that?
No, it had everything to do with the fact that I was exposed.
Oh, okay.
And my secrets came out.
Oh, okay.
And she knew some stuff now.
See.
And so then I seen how broken she was, and it was a matter of just my worst fear happened.
Okay.
But I couldn't run from it. I had to face it now.
Yeah.
And so it was terrifying. And really, it was me, the whole time was me trying to hold on to this image I made of myself, right? It was me trying to hold on to what I felt like was sustaining my life, which was this good, right? And now that good is gone. I have no grip, no grasp on anything, and I'm just this floating. I have no anchor, and to me, there was no point in me living. The world was better off without me, because I knew.
Yeah.
Like, I knew, and I knew enough about God that he knew everything that I knew about myself. I was like, you and I both know. You're actually the only one who really, truly knows what I know about me. And you and I both know. There's no point in me being here. Like, there's really no, like, it was like, I was just so aware of my sin.
Yeah.
And, I knew that I needed help outside myself, because I had no idea what I was doing. I messed everything up. This is all my fault. I knew that. And so that was that moment of, what the word talks about, when the Bible convicts us of sin, or the Holy Spirit convicts us of sin, right? That's his job. I was in that moment being convicted. And then what he also does is he reveals Jesus to us. That's his job. That's all he does, is glorify Jesus. So in that moment, I was reminded of a line that I heard just 2 days, asking Jesus to come into your heart.
Yeah.
And I reheard that.
Yeah.
Literally mid-cry. I stopped, and I was like, wait, what? And then I heard him again, clearly, for the 3rd time, asked me to come in. And I was like, get in here. I just stopped, and I was like, get in here. I had like this little sweater on. I had a little sweater, and and I opened the sweater. I remember I opened the sweater. I opened it up because I just didn't want nothing in the way. I was like, no. I opened it up, and again I was just like, get in here. Get in here right now.
Oh my gosh.
I was, when I tell you, it was the most desperate moment I've ever had in my life. Like, but a hope. Yeah. Because it was like, come on, just get in here. I have nothing else left. Like, this is all I got. Like, it's got to be you. If this is the way to get help, get in here.
Yeah.
And the Bible says, you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and you will be saved. Yeah. And it was that moment that there was a confession. And when I was crying and I was talking out loud. Like, I was like, I know. I was just like, it was just this outburst cry and I was reaching. Like, it was one of those, you ever have one of those cries where it just kind of, it's so deep that it physically manifests where you're reaching for something. And it was that, like, I was on my bed, like, reaching and talking and crying and expressing out loud, which I never did. I've never done that. And it was just this desperation was coming out. And then when I hear him in the midst of what is a storm for me, like, he's like, ask Jesus to come into your heart. Like, ask me, And then it was like this spark of, like, a revelation hit. And it was, that was Holy Spirit revealing Jesus to me in that moment. And then my response was, all right, well, because you made me like this, I don't ask, I tell you. It was like that out of desperation, though, it was like, get in here. Get in here right now before I die.
God's probably like, this is the funniest way anyone's asked me into their heart before, but I love it.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah, and I needed it. I had nothing else if not that, and that was the spark of hope, and I took it, and he helped me take it, I should say, because it was a lot of breaking before it got to that moment anyway, right? So, but yeah, so then I asked him, like, get in here. My whole body gets hot. From literally my hands to my feet.
Wow.
And my head, like, it was like heat just started building up, and then it was like traveling, like, down my arms, and like it all came to just like right here.
Okay. Wow.
And it was like this super weighty ball of heat. Like, it was just this huge thing just in and on my chest, and I just felt it. And then in a moment it just was like, it just like lifted off.
Wow.
And then it was immediately replaced with this like cooling.
Wow.
It was like this
Wow.
immediate transfer. And it's crazy because in the beginning of the Bible, in the beginning, right, when God makes Adam, he breathes into him.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I kid you not, I promise you, I Lord, as my witness, I felt air blow onto me.
Wow.
I felt a breeze. And until I read the Bible, I just called it a breeze because it was like a literal breeze. Was like,
wow.
And it was at the same time as it's replacing, and I felt it hit my chest and sink inside, like it went in. And the air that I felt when he breathed, it was like literally at the time I inhaled, I was like it was like I took my first breath, and it was, that thing was gone. And now and what I felt in turn, I laid there and just kind of like was like experiencing what was happening. And then inside my chest, like, now mind you, I had dealt with like real palpitations and heart things. That was the first time that my chest was silent.
Oh, wow.
Because I would deal with like really intense heartbeats.
Oh, okay.
And it felt like nothing was in there. Like, it felt like my whole chest cavity was empty.
Wow.
But there was like this floating thing, like just inside, and I felt it. It was just like flowing around, and I was like, and then my body got really cool. I always describe it like icy hot. Like, it was like I was hot, and then it was like this icy, like cool, like cooling, and it just felt. I was like, what? And I sat up.
Wow.
I remember I sat up on the side of my bed. I sat up, and it's like, remember, mind you, not even 2 seconds ago, I was like bawling my face off. I get up, my whole face like soaked and crusted. I sit up, and I'm just like, and I thought about everything I was thinking about, tried to remember it again, tried to like feel it again, because I was literally not 2 seconds ago, bro. I was dying.
Yeah.
I was literally dying. And I couldn't feel it.
Wow.
I couldn't. I tried to be sad. I was even like, it's like, no, I'm sad. Like, this is bad. And I could remember it, but I could literally feel the distance between me and the thought. Like, it was like a distant memory. 3 seconds ago was a distant memory in that moment. I remembered everything I thought. I thought every single thought. I remembered everything I did. The sin was just so far. He casted it so far away from me.
Wow.
In that moment, I was like, and I said out loud, I was sitting there, I was like, did that just work? I was like, no. And just to be sure, I tried it again. I was like, oh my gosh, that worked. And I was just like, bro, that worked. And I just started cracking up. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. The joy of the Lord, when I tell you I was drunk, I just immediately got drunk. And it's crazy because, again, I hadn't got to this part in the word yet, but I was so conscious and aware of the presence of not only God, but his heavenly host in my room. In that moment, I knew there was angels in my room.
Wow.
I knew that there was Jesus was in my room, and I didn't even really come to terms with Jesus just yet, but like, I knew Jesus, and the most I knew about Jesus was that I asked him to come into my heart, and he came, and he's in here. And then God the Father, I had the revelation that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and the angels, and it was a party in my room.
Wow.
It was a party. Like, I'm cracking up. I'm talking out loud. I'm cracking jokes. I'm like,
now, is anybody else home? No. Is it just you?
No, okay. No. She's there, but she's downstairs.
Oh, okay.
I'm upstairs.
Okay.
And this is happening.
Okay.
This is happening right after a really, 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 really hard conversation that we just had. Yeah. And I left. Now I'm upstairs, and I'm bawling my face off. But then I asked Jesus to come to my heart, and now he in my heart, and now I'm having a party because I'm the sinner that repented, and the party is happening in heaven for the one sinner that repented. That's me.
Wow.
And it's happening in my bedroom.
That's amazing.
And so then it was like, oh, I'm crusty. Like, I need to get in the shower. Like, this is nasty. I was like, I need to go get clean. Like, and then I'm in the shower. I'm talking to him out loud. I'm in the shower. I'm like, all right, so what we doing? Like, where we going? Like, you want me to go to Seattle? I'll go to Seattle. I don't care. That's cool. This house can go. That girl, she can go. Everything can go. Like, it was so me and Jesus. Yeah. Like, I was like, I got you. Like, I got you now. It's me and you. What we doing? What are you doing? Like, it was just like, the first question was, what's the move?
Yeah.
What's the move? What we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing, Jesus? Are we going to Seattle? Cool. Got to sell the house? Like, cool. Like, we got to get it. I was like, I guess I can sell all the furniture. But I'll give it away. I don't even care. It's going to take too long. So it was like, I was just so, it was crazy. So and then I remember I messaged her family. And I told them thank you because I had been feeling the type of way. And then I became aware of the way that I had been viewing them. And I was convicted about that. So I need to apologize and ask for forgiveness. But then also to even say thank you, because if you didn't come up here and be obedient, I wouldn't have got Jesus. So this is cool. And then I texted my best friend from Seattle who did know Jesus. And I texted her and I was like, bro, guess what just happened?
Wow.
And then she sent me a sermon. And that night actually was the first night. And I had already been gifted a Bible. So I had one for myself at that point. But that was the first time I watched the sermon. And then that was the first night throughout that whole situation, that process, that week, that I had went to sleep soundly without crying myself to sleep.
Wow.
And I remember waking up the next morning and I just was in like this holy haze. I remember the room was like foggy. Like I felt hungover, but so not like, it was not liquor. So it was like, everything was okay. But I remember even going to like waking up out of the bed and I was just like, I was like walking around just
like a nice hangover.
It was the best hangover ever. And I just remember, the room felt like kind of hazy, smoky. Like it was like this, like really, it just was beautiful. And I was so okay. And I told her the next morning what happened. I told her family, they knew. And and then the next day, the day after, was my birthday.
Oh.
So I was born again on July 11th at like 3 in the morning, and then July 12th is my earthly birthday, and I turned 26.
Wow.
So.
And wait, July 11th, what year was it?
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the day after my birthday, she moved out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then that was the beginning of me and Jesus by ourselves.
So when you asked him what was the move, what did he tell you what the next move was?
Yeah, he said, you're going to sit right there and you're not going to move nowhere. And you're going to just hang out with me and get to know me. And I was like, oh, okay, because it didn't make no sense. I even made everything free in my house and nobody took it.
Oh.
And it was nice stuff, okay? It was good stuff. It was good stuff. And
that's so funny.
Yeah, but no, I became aware. He made it clear to me that he wanted me to just focus on him because I didn't know nothing about him. Like, so he wanted me to just sit and spend time with him and now have the context to say, or the articulation is that I focused on him and all else was added unto me. He took care of me. Wow. I didn't work for a whole year and a half and I stayed in that house. And there are still some things that he's taking care of concerning that place, like the debt that I did end up owing. But the crazy thing is, it's not that he didn't provide it. I just didn't handle it well. Because I ended up getting all those residuals from that last job that would have took care of a lot of stuff. But I, in my own ignorance and just selfishness, but also in a lot of deep ignorance, because I was not mentally or emotionally fit to handle anything. That was when I also fell into a really deep depression in that time with him, because now I'm dealing with real stuff, like the real stuff.
Because you had to process it.
Exactly. And so I was doing it, though, with the God of the universe. And that was the first time that I found out, because he helped me. He, little by little, was really helping me be honest, because that was not something I did my whole life. I was lying my whole life and hiding my whole life. So he walked me through so patiently and so gently through the process of teaching me how showing me how safe I am, so I can be honest, and so I can, and just experiencing that when I am honest, our relationship actually gets stronger, not hurt it. Like, he doesn't leave me. And so I experienced that with him first before he brought me with people, because it's not the same all the time. And so I had to experience that with him. But the more honest I became, the more the reality of what's going on and what I've been hiding and burying my whole life, and my experiences and trauma and all that, I started to have to face and confront those things. And the way that I responded was not good. But because I had the God of the universe and he was teaching me how to depend on him, I'm alive because of him. Because the stuff that ended up coming out, actually, my response was suicide.
Wow.
So he saved me a lot from myself. He continues to save me every single day from myself. But it was in that time with him alone where I finally did actually cut off, because there was a period where I didn't cut off things that he was telling me to cut off, or people, or whatever. It took some time, but when it finally did happen, and by his doing, because, you get to a place where he gets you to pray a prayer where you say, if it's not for me, God, remove it. and if I'm holding clenched like this, I started praying, well, pry it from my hands, because I don't know how to give it to you, so you got to take it from me, snatch it. And I gave him permission to do that, and he took me for my word. And so he did that, and he used my mistakes to do it. So there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, a lot of fear that had to be dealt with, and a lot of the ways that I correlated my identity with my actions and my performance and all that stuff. So he was dealing with that, and he was introducing me to who he is in his character. And then through that, revealing truly who I am and deconstructing my identity that I built and showing me who I really am in him. And that was hard, very hard. And so, again, I found out with him how suicidal I actually was.
Wow.
But thank God it was with him, because he's the one who stopped me. He's the one who kept me, right? And so now my relationship is what it is with him, because those times were so dark and so deep, and he met me in trenches, like with me in the trenches. Yeah, and then it was a year and a half of a lot of stuff like that privately happening that now people know. That's what was happening.
So for that year and a half, did you try to get like dance jobs and stuff, or were like, no, God's told me to just spend time with him, so that's what I'm going to do, and you knew you had those residuals, so I know, even though you didn't like maybe handle it the way that whatever, but so you just were focusing on God and whatever, however he was leading for that year and a half.
Yeah, it was simple. It was real childlike faith. It was just childlike. I just knew he told me that, and it was that simple.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, no, I don't want you doing nothing. I want you focusing on me.
Okay.
So I took it at face value, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here.
So how did that end after a year and a half?
He brought me
to
to CPAC.
After that? Oh, okay.
He brought me to CPAC, and it didn't end. It just kind of stepped into a new way that it was happening, in the transition, new version. But, yeah, he brought me to CPAC, and then that was around the time that it was just stepping into that season of where he was introducing me to the body, because I had been with him by myself. And what I did understand of the body was my first encounter with devout Christians was her family, and they were essentially like discipling me at first. Like, there was a discipleship because I had nothing my whole life. I didn't know nobody that knew Jesus. And, everybody had to go.
You had one friend in Seattle, right?
Yeah. And
besides
then,
that.
yeah, but she's in Seattle.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it's like to have that person who's, really walking with me through the word, and she's on her own journey as well. So it was like for somebody to set the tone of what a person who loves Jesus looks like and acts like, and how they move and live their life. He gave me a beautiful example off the bat, like off rip, what that looks like. And so I learned immediately that praying before you do, so like consulting him is a thing, like, and you don't do it out of obligation, you do it out of love, like, because you trust him and you know that he knows best. And just learning what a life with him that represents deep love and deep trust actually looks like when it's lived and acted, walked out, So I had a beautiful example. He set me up really well. But then he cut it off too, because it needed to be, because he wanted me to himself. And so that relationship needed to end. And so he cut those ties because they needed to be, so that I could move forward in the direction he wanted to take me and let go of what he told me to let go of. So he allowed it, and he did what he needed to do and wanted to do. He used it, but it came to a point where it was like, okay, in his sovereignty, no, you're done. And I had given him permission finally. Like, I wasn't really ready to let it go, but I had become aware enough of him that I could cling to him in my freaking out of what I just got rid of. Yeah. And so, then that built our relationship. And then he brought me around people, and I don't even know if it was his perfect timing necessarily. Like, if it was completely his way and his will without me being in the way. But he knows all things, and he knew the time that I needed, and he was patient for that. And he brought me at the perfect time to this place, because the owner of this place, her testimony is very similar to mine. And so it was perfect timing that he had brought me. And he had brought me to different parts of the body. I'm connected to people over in like Redondo. Okay. I'm connected to people who are over by the airport. I'm connected to people here in Northridge. I'm connected to people, like, it's like he had made clear to me, because I had a lot of imagery of the church and the way about the church. He had to deconstruct my understanding and my thoughts and give me his, right? And it was basically, he had to let me know first that the church is not a place. The church is not a what, it's not a where, it's a who. Yeah. It's a what. Yeah. And it's my body, it's my children, it's my family. And you don't go to a place for church. No, you go be with people, and that's who the church is. That's what the church is. And so he made that to me. He made that very clear to me first, because I had a misconception, right, of it. So he started connecting me with the church.
How did you even find CPAC, Christian Performing Arts Center?
It is divine. I mean, really long story short, because everything is a long story with all these details, but I made friends with this homeless guy. And I'm going to say his name because I love him. And that's my friend.
Do it.
Jonathan.
Okay.
Byram.
Okay.
Jonathan, I met him because the Lord led me to go feed the homeless in my neighborhood. So I went.
Okay.
And he was homeless at the time. And Holy Spirit just recognizes spirit. And so we just connected, and then he knew the word very, very well. And I was at a place where that's all I was doing. I just needed to know the word. And so I was reading it like it was nobody's business and trying to eat it up. And I could tell that he knew it by heart, and he would just recite it to me all the time. And I'd be like, I need to hang out with you. I need to dig into this word with somebody. So then I started doing that. And so it was kind of one of those things where it turned out, all right, we'll hang out. I feed you and you feed me type thing. So it's like I would bring him food and then he would give me the word.
Wow.
And we would just talk, and we became really good friends. And then one day he got really hurt, like broke his arm, his wrist or something. And then it was nobody but God that I felt bold enough to do this, but I invited him to come stay. I felt like the Lord was telling me to do that, so I did. And it was just a beautiful spirit-filled week and the Lord used that to connect me with his family, who just so happened to be looking for him at the time and trying to get in contact with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Timing. Crazy. And so then we're trying to get him into like a rehab. But they didn't take him because he had a broken arm, which to this day I'd be like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, you got somebody who's ready to be sober and like get help, and you're telling them no because they're not physically capable to work over there. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm clearly still upset about that. But okay, whatever. But I think it was still divine because it used that to connect me with his family, with his in-laws. No, with just his family. But I did get close with his sister-in-law. That's how that ended up happening. So he ended up actually leaving. And then God, that we separated for a little bit, but I stayed connected, and I got really close, really, really close with his sister-in-law, and her name is Jeanette, and her family, they're called the Bullwares. It's her and her husband. They got like 6 kids. Like, they just a big bunch of people. But yeah, and I needed to get in the word with somebody. She was very interested in me because she was just like, who is this young girl that you just staying in her house, who doesn't work, who's just like... just met Jesus or something. Like, she was just like, who are you? And I was like, well, wow. Yeah. And so it just kind of, and then I asked her to get in the word with me, and she did. She came over that day. She was available. She's usually really busy. And, it was just a whole thing. And I went over there that night and had dinner with her family, met them the same day I met her, and it just went from there. And then
they connected you with like this studio, or not that
right,
you have
that's
to
what
say.
We're talking about.
I mean, not that you have to say all the details, but I was just curious how you found it. But but this story kind of explains that there's just crazy things.
There's just crazy things happening, and I'm sorry, I'm learning how to be more concise about it. But
it's so interesting, though.
Yeah, but God, like, he connected me with this family, and basically, it was through Jonathan that I looked up CPAC.
Okay.
And I found a Christian dance studio by my house that I didn't know was so close to my house.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's cool. But then I seen a bunch of I just didn't feel fitting. It was like a lot of little girls who were ballerinas, and like, honestly, I was like, I'm too rough. I just see a bunch of little white kids in ballerinas, and I'm not a ballerina. So I was like, I don't know about that. Jesus still working on me, so I don't know. But it's close to my house, and I didn't know that. I didn't even know this was a thing. So cool. So then I put it in my back pocket. Fast forward, I get close with his family. A couple months later, I'm with them at the beach, and this family who they go to church with, I had visited, go with them to service sometimes. She's talking to the owner of some studio about me, and she's talking about this class that she took. It's so cool, and she was like, you should go. And I was like, wait, what's the name of it? And she was like, CPAC. And I was like,
crazy. Yeah.
Noted. That's that place. But okay. So then the next week, I just ended up getting invited, and then I go. And it just was, everything about it was divine. And yeah, so I started taking classes. And then I talked to Mrs. Kimberly. She's the owner of the school. And the Lord, she loves Jesus. and she is led by Jesus, and she hears from Jesus, and she's a mother and a grandmother, so she's been it's just so many things. So she's very sensitive, and then the Lord just really put a place in her heart for me, to where she just was hearing him concerning me and was really prayerful about it. And she was like, I know you're supposed to be here, but I don't know in what capacity. I don't know what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know why you're here. So we just got to pray about this. And we pray about it for like a week. And within that week, her receptionist left. And so that spot here opened up. So then I started working here as a receptionist. And I was doing that for the first year. And then I would substitute some of the younger hip-hop classes if they needed a sub. But then it just worked out time-wise where we knew I was going to teach at some point, but I was still healing a lot. And I was still needing to go through my process of being sanctified, and even like being able to be in a position to teach kids and lead them in that way, because it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
So, and I'm fresh out the world, so I wasn't even ready to do that yet. Like, and I'm still relearning love for dance and doing that for God. So, yeah. And then after about a year, I started teaching the summer dance camp, which is coming up. And I did that, and then the girl who was teaching actually moved back home, and so I took over her classes. So now I've been teaching and being a receptionist, more so now in the studio, teaching and taking classes for the past 3 years.
Oh, wow, 3 years.
It's my third year here. Yeah.
And did you, through all of this time in your transition, after you...
September it'll be 3.
After you demanded Jesus come in your heart, were you still getting calls from regular dance jobs and things like that, or did that kind of cut off pretty quickly?
It kind of, I was still getting them, but I was just denying all of them.
Okay.
And I was very open with my agents at the time when I was telling them, like, hey, I'm not doing anything if it don't line up with my faith.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm at. I was very open about it.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And they kept sending me stuff, and I was using every opportunity to tell people about Jesus. I was like, this is what it is. And I was trying to tell them, but I was on my conversion mode.
Okay.
Like, you going to hell if you don't do this. So, yeah, that's where I was at. It was very intense. But it was just passion.
Did you, did you have, friends that you made through all of that stuff that were trying to be like, hey, where you at? Or was it like...
Yeah, everybody was checking on me. Were you just telling them My family thought I was in a cult. It was a whole thing. Like, everybody was stressed out because I disappeared off the face of the earth. I just, like you said, I stopped posting at one point for 2-something years straight. Like, I just left. And it was because my whole world got flipped. Like, everything I ever known was different, right? And so I had a lot of people hitting me up, but I think after a while, the attempt stopped. Like, it was just like, okay, Makia is on another planet right now. And I think that, that's just what happened. And I just really needed that time. I needed to be enclosed with him. I needed to be private. My whole life was on display for a really long time, and I needed to be private with the Lord to be able to process it all safely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Makia, you're my longest podcast episode.
Of course.
I loved it so much.
So much. I loved it.
No, it's so perfect.
Meanwhile, I really gotta go, kind of. I do. My friends.
I'm pretty sure that Makia said we should need to be somewhere at 1:30, and it's 3:15. But that was just amazing. Oh my gosh, your story is so inspiring and crazy and cool, and I feel like all the questions were already asked, and I feel like we just got such amazing stories, and I just hope that this brings hope to people and inspires, and I can't wait to see what else God continues to do and how he uses you with all the creative ideas he's giving you and how you're using dance for God. And I'm so glad I got to run into you and work with you a little, and I'm just excited. So
no, I'm excited too. I'm excited for all this. I think God is he's such a master planner and thinker, and he's so involved in all the intricate details, right? So I'm excited too. I'm grateful that he came and got me.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for where he's taking me and everybody else around me, because I know it's together. I know it's for him, and I know that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's hard. It's a little scary, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. It's the best decision. It's the best ride you could ever get on. Yeah. And it's the ride of life, true life.
Yeah.
What life is supposed to be with God. So yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah. So amazing. Thank you, God. I'm just like excited that all that happened to you and he just brought you to this place. But anyways, we're going to let you go because we got like a good 3 hours or whatever this was.
Oh my gosh. I feel like this needs to be cut.
But I don't know. I don't think we're going to cut that much because it's pretty good. But anyways, Makia, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast and just everything else you've done for me as well. And thank you guys for listening. Those of you that listened to the whole thing. I mean, how could you not? I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, honestly. But thank you. Please like, subscribe, and all those things. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
I'm learning how to be more concise.
Oh my gosh, that's something I need to learn too. But not for this, because we want all the details. Oh crap, my chapstick just came out.